Chapter 1. Jiang Yuan felt that his character was still far too noble. After being reborn for 18 years, relying on the blessings left by his ancestors, he had finally embarked upon the path of cultivation. To his delight, he had also acquired a system that would enhance his strength through romantic pursuits. However, within a cave on Tianfeng Mountain, Jiang Yuan lay dejectedly on a stone bed, his mind a blank slate. Having experienced a whirlwind of fortune and misfortune within a single day, he felt the capriciousness of life, akin to the intertwining of intestines. The origin of his predicament was straightforward. Jiang Yuan had been reborn into this realm of cultivation for 18 years, benefiting from the ancestral blessings. He successfully joined the ranks of Tianwu sect and commenced his journey of cultivation. On this very day, he had successfully drawn in qi, officially stepping onto the path of spiritual practice. Even more fortuitously, he had obtained an essential system for traversers, aptly named the Love to Become Strong system. By courting designated targets specified by the system, he could reap generous rewards. To his astonishment, the targets included his esteemed master and 2 senior sisters. Truth be told, the moment he laid eyes on these individuals, thoughts such as rebellious disciple and greasy senior sister surfaced in his mind. Just as Jiang Yuan envisioned a future filled with beautiful companions and romantic entanglements. The system's feature that recorded the past and future of these targets dealt him a harsh blow. What? The junior sister would torment me to the point of despair due to the emergence of a younger junior brother? What? The senior sister would cripple my cultivation and render me powerless because of the future junior brother? What? My master would expel me from the sect, leaving me to fend for myself due to this future junior brother's presence? All of this chaos stemming from mere slander by a junior brother? This feature was intended to help Jiang Yuan devise a flawless strategy for his pursuits. However, upon realizing the grim fate that awaited him, he immediately grasped the gravity of his situation and erupted in expletives. Goodness, I've landed myself in some foolish female-centric cultivation regret narrative. Confronted with the realization that he was ensnared in a plot of extraordinary misfortune typical of such tales, Jiang Yuan's heart was a tumult of fear and rage. His handsome visage contorted into a complex expression resembling that of a vengeful spirit. With his thoughts collected, Jiang Yuan again felt that his character was still far too noble. Despite being acutely aware of his dismal future, the most vulgar thought that crossed his mind was a mere curse. Yet, he soon calmed his tumultuous emotions and sat upright on the stone bed. He understood that wallowing in despair would not alter his dire circumstances. Thus, he needed to carefully contemplate his next steps. What he knew thus far was that according to the timeline, the root of all troubles, the manipulative green tea BTCH, would only enter the picture 2 years after he had joined the sect, when she would then approach his current master. This implies that he still has a 2-year buffer period to prepare in various aspects. However, his current thoughts are centered around a singular notion: escape. It's a jest, as he is acutely aware that his situation mirrors that of a foolish female character in a regretful cultivation novel. Why linger here attempting a counterattack or indulging in jealousy? It is futile. His primary purpose for embarking on the path of cultivation has always been to seek immortality and traverse the Tao, not to engage in trivial games of affection. Women would only hinder the pace of his cultivation. After pondering for a while, Jiang Yuan still lacked a concrete plan. Once he joins a sect, leaving becomes a formidable challenge. Fleeing clandestinely would label him a traitor. Consequently, he would not only face a bounty, but also find himself unable to join other sects due to the stigma of betrayal. After all, once a precedent is set, further betrayals will inevitably follow. The higher-ups of these sects are astute individuals. No one wishes to nurture a backstabber. Thus, abandoning the sect for the sake of his future path to immortality is an untenable idea. Yet, with no immediate solution in sight, Jiang Yuan resolved to focus on his cultivation to enhance his strength. The primary reason for his helplessness in this situation is his inadequate power as the protagonist. If he were strong enough, would he need to worry about finding himself in such a predicament? He could simply seize those 4 individuals and refine them in an instant. Having realized this, Jiang Yuan was determined to commence his cultivation. However, at that moment, the system abruptly made its presence known. Host, you have a new task. Please check it. Task content: visit the Master SK for 5 consecutive days to pay respects. Task reward: a high-quality spiritual level cultivation technique suitable for the host. Task failure: unknown. According to Jiang Yuan's prior research, the levels of cultivation techniques range from low to high as follows: mortal, spiritual, mysterious, sacred, immortal, emperor, and divine, each further categorized into superior, high, medium, and low grades. A high-quality spiritual level technique is exceedingly precious to him. For the only technique he currently possesses is a low-grade mortal-level body refinement method bestowed by his master. Truth be told, had he known of his future beforehand, he would have gladly accepted the task. However, upon discovering the grim fate that is intricately linked to these three individuals. He found himself harboring a palpable barrier and aversion toward them. Thus, when faced with the system's task, Jiang Yuan resolutely declined. I refuse. It is impossible for me to ingratiate myself with these individuals. I would rather face punishment. Upon receiving his response, the system replied once more. The system respects the host's choice. Please accept the punishment. With the appearance of the system's notification, a terrifying jolt of electricity materialized from thin air, instantly coursing through Jiang Yuan's entire body. The electric shock from the system caused his body to convulse violently, his expression contorted in agony, and his mind became a blank slate, yet he instinctively responded. I will not accept this. The intermittent flashes of lightning rendered his weak protests fragmented and incoherent. After a while, the punishment ceased. The spot where Jiang Yuan had once stood was left with nothing but an indistinct mass of black matter. However, this enigmatic black substance soon stirred. Accompanied by a series of crackling sounds, a figure emerged from within this dark entity. It was Jiang Yuan. At this moment, he stood completely bare, astonished as he acclimated to his own body. Initially, his cultivation level had merely reached the rudimentary stage of body refinement, yet surprisingly, after the system's electric jolt, he had directly advanced to the third level of body refinement. Moreover, most importantly, Jiang Yuan could sense that his thunderous spiritual root had begun to respond due to the system's shock, evolving towards the superior tier of thunder spiritual roots. Merely being electrocuted once had not only enhanced his strength, but also fostered the growth of his spiritual root. In that instant, Jiang Yuan comprehended the true treasure that the system held for him. Therefore, with a beaming expression, he inquired of the system, "Are there any tasks available? Please send them my way." Apologies, host. After rejecting a system task, there will be a cooldown period of 5 days before new tasks become available. Alas, what a pity. Realizing that he could not exploit a bug for rapid enhancement, Jiang Yuan felt a tinge of regret and sighed. Chapter 2. Life is a play. All dependent on performance. Regretful though he was, Jiang Yuan quickly adjusted his mindset and posed another question. System, is there any sort of beginner's gift pack or welcoming present? Indeed, host. You only need to silently invoke System Backpack in your mind to reveal it. Following the system's instructions, Jiang Yuan mentally recited System Backpack. A new system window materialized before him. The System Backpack contained a total of 16 slots, with the first slot prominently displaying a resplendent gift box. System, open the Beginner-S gift pack. Alright. The Beginner-S gift pack has been opened. Congratulations, host, on receiving the following rewards. Reward 1. Profound Grade Supreme Cultivation Technique, 10,000 Thunder Art. Reward 2. Profound Grade Supreme Technique, Concealing Breath Technique. Reward 3. 3 million mile teleportation talismans. Reward 4. 100 medium grade spirit stones. The rewards unveiled from the beginner's gift pack left Jiang Yuan dazzled as he absorbed the information. The Profound Grade Supreme Technique, 10,000 Thunder Art, would allow him to cultivate seamlessly up to the level of ascension without needing to switch techniques. The Profound Grade Supreme Technique, Concealing Breath Technique, would enable him to mask his cultivation level from outsiders, revealing only what he wished for others to see. According to the system's description, upon reaching perfection, even beings at the ascension level would be unable to see through his disguise. Furthermore, the 100 medium-grade spirit stones would suffice for him to elevate from body refinement to the 9th level of spirit cultivation without difficulty. The cultivation system encompasses 7 realms, ascending from the lowest to the highest: body refinement, spirit cultivation, divine shaping, harmonious clarity, celestial realm, transcendence, and ascension to immortality. Each of these realms is further divided into 9 tiers, with every 3 tiers representing a new threshold. However, what truly captivated Jiang Yuan's attention was the million-mile teleportation talisman. These 3 talismans could unconditionally transport him to a designated location without any prior preparation, unaffected by any spatial environment or formations. With merely a thought, he could instantly vanish from his current position. Upon seeing these 3 talismans, a plan began to take shape in Jiang Yuan's mind, a feigned death to facilitate his escape. Though he yearned to seize his benefactor and senior sister and swiftly refine them, his lack of sufficient strength rendered him incapable of even ensuring his own safety, let alone mounting any resistance. Thus, leaving the heavenly martial sect to cultivate and enhance his abilities outside was the prudent course of action. Nonetheless, this plan remained in its infancy, necessitating further refinement and the waiting for an opportune moment. With this in mind, Jiang Yuan stored the rewards from his novice gift pack into his system backpack and commenced his study of the concealment technique. To escape this demonic lair, he needed to remain hidden to safeguard himself. Consequently, he quickly entered a meditative state, dedicating his entire focus to mastering the concealment technique. In the blink of an eye, a week passed. During this time, Jiang Yuan had thoroughly integrated and mastered the concealment technique. One could only conclude that the system's products were of exceptional quality. As long as one had not reached the transcendence realm, they would be unable to discern his true cultivation level. Remarkably, Jiang Yuan mastered this technique in merely 3 days, dedicating the remainder of the week to practicing the 10,000 thunder technique. With the assistance of the system's punitive measures, his speed of comprehension was astonishing. Within just 4 days, he had cultivated this technique to the level of great accomplishment. It is noteworthy that the proficiency levels of techniques range from beginner to mastery, with stages including entry, minor accomplishment, proficiency, great accomplishment, integration, and perfection. Thus, Jiang Yuan's attainment of great accomplishment in just 4 days speaks volumes of his exceptional aptitude. Perhaps it was due to the strength of his soul from 2 lifetimes, or perhaps the privileges afforded to a transmigrator, that his comprehension reached a formidable level. Yet, this extraordinary aptitude would, in the future, bring him a multitude of calamities. According to the future projections recorded by the system, it was precisely due to his lack of discretion and his desire to shine as a brilliant genius that led to envy from his junior disciple, resulting in covert schemes and continual framing. Consequently, his unassuming master and 2 senior sisters believed these slanders, their attitudes swiftly turning markedly hostile, thereby paving the way for his subsequent tribulations. To be candid, Jiang Yuan struggled to comprehend the progression of these events, finding them abstract and perplexing. Why did others readily believe the words of that duplicitous individual without doubt? Why, even when faced with the truth, could they willfully turn a blind eye? Did he truly find excuses for those with ulterior motives? He could not comprehend. Yet, upon reflecting on his circumstances, being ensnared in a cliché female fantasy about regretful cultivation, he felt an unexpected sense of clarity. It must be acknowledged that such narratives do not demand rationality. Intelligence is a valuable asset, yet it appears to be absent here. Realizing this, Jiang Yuan resolved to conceal his true self, waiting for an opportune moment to make his escape. Reaffirming his inner desire to flee, he was preparing to continue his cultivation when a serene voice echoed from outside the cave. "Disciple, come forth for a meeting." The voice belonged to his rather unconventional master, and to maintain the facade of a typical disciple, he felt compelled to comply. Rising, Jiang Yuan stepped outside, where he was greeted by the sight of 2 remarkable women. One exuded an aura of chilling elegance, while the other radiated a gentle warmth. The former was his unconventional master, Jiang Yuan, a pinnacle figure of the divine creation realm. The latter, if Jiang Yuan was not mistaken, was his senior sister, Foreseeing, a prodigy in the 5th stage of the spirit cultivation realm. Confronted by these 2 striking figures, Jiang Yuan maintained a composed demeanor, lowering his gaze and clasping his hands in greeting. "I have met the master. May I inquire what brings you to seek me?" As anticipated, the reason his master summoned him was to introduce him to the senior sister of their peak. "Little junior brother, this is our first meeting, and I have not prepared a proper gift," Foreseeing said warmly, resembling a caring older sister, invoking an instinctive sense of familiarity. However, this sentiment was only applicable to others. Faced with the kindness of his senior sister, Jiang Yuan understood that his current status and strength left him no grounds for refusal. Without raising his head, he respectfully accepted the offered elixirs, responding with gratitude. "Thank you, senior sister." Jiang Yuan observed this interaction and nodded approvingly, then placed her hand gently on Jiang Yuan's shoulder. In the next moment, he felt an influx of external spiritual energy entering his body, realizing that his master was assessing his cultivation progress. Trusting in his concealment technique, he allowed her to proceed with her evaluation. After a brief moment, Jiang Yuan withdrew her hand, a smile gracing her delicate features. "Very good. You have successfully drawn energy into your body in just 7 days, officially entering the realm of cultivation. Keep up the good work." In response to his master's commendation, Jiang Yuan allowed a smile to surface, replying with fervor, "Yes, master. I will certainly strive to improve." Chapter 3. At present, he felt utterly powerless, lacking strength. Observing this, Jiang Yuan suddenly recalled there was another matter she had yet to address. Indeed, a month hence marks the day when a minor secret realm shall be unveiled. Within this realm, the most formidable beast shall only possess the 9th level of body refinement. Would you care to participate? In response to my benevolent master's inquiry, Jiang Yuan's initial reaction was, of course, one of reluctance. For him, the resources acquired from the minor secret realm paled in comparison to the tangible benefits derived from a jolt provided by the system. Rather than squander time on trivial pursuits, he preferred to continue enhancing his own prowess. Yet, despite these thoughts, he felt compelled to feign interest. Thus, he fell into a contemplative silence, and after a brief interval, replied, "I beg your pardon, master. I consider my abilities to be rather meager at present and do not yet possess the requisite strength to participate. Therefore, I plan to join the next occasion." Regarding his disciple's response, Jiang Yuan chose not to elaborate further, simply stating, "When you reach the third level of body refinement, make your way to the scripture pavilion to acquire a technique, and you may collect the cultivation resources for inner disciples each month." With that, she vanished from sight. "Farewell, master," Jiang Yuan expressed with utmost reverence, his demeanor unwaveringly respectful, his countenance betraying not a hint of insincerity. Even his inner musings remained concealed. The primary reason for his decorum was the presence of his benevolent senior sister, who possessed a keenly perceptive heart, an extraordinary ability to discern good from evil, as well as to sense the malice or goodwill of others, along with a spectrum of other emotions. In Jiang Yuan's estimation, it was inconceivable that this senior sister, endowed with such a unique capability, would remain oblivious to the schemes of that duplicitous junior brother. However, according to the information provided by the system, it appeared that not only was she aware, but she also tacitly endorsed his actions. Oh, is it not a classic case of a foolish maiden regretting her path in the cultivation world? Lacking any semblance of logic or reason, she seemed solely focused on emotional outpourings. Though he mentally berated the situation, Jiang Yuan maintained an air of civility throughout, even upon regaining his composure. He respectfully inquired of his senior sister, "Might I inquire if there is anything else you require? If not, I shall return to my cultivation." Yet, he found Hua Xinyun gazing at him with a pensive expression before softly articulating, "Junior brother, do you harbor any dislike for me?" The suddenness of her question momentarily left Jiang Yuan at a loss for words. However, upon regaining his wits, he assiduously examined his own feelings and, upon realizing he had exhibited no malice, responded, "As this is our initial encounter, we are yet unfamiliar with one another. Why would you think I dislike you?" This query left Hua Xinyun momentarily speechless, as she had always possessed the innate ability to perceive the goodwill and ill will of those around her, along with a variety of other sentiments. Thus, regardless of whom she encountered, even for the first time, she could distinctly sense their emotions towards her. However, when faced with this junior disciple, she found herself unable to perceive any malice or kindness emanating from him, as if she were an inconsequential presence. This peculiar sensation stirred something subtle within her, leaving her at a loss for words. Although Hua Xinyun harbored a desire to inquire further, Jiang Yuan did not afford her the opportunity, promptly bidding farewell. Since the senior sister had no other matters to discuss, the junior brother would return to his cave for cultivation, and with that, he departed without a backward glance, sealing the cave door behind him. Watching the door close, Hua Xinyun momentarily froze, a hint of bewilderment gracing her delicate features. After a brief pause, she regained her composure and left, shrouded in uncertainty. Meanwhile, upon returning to his cave, Jiang Yuan's breath came in quick bursts, though he soon steadied himself as he began to reflect on his recent missteps. His initial plan had been to remain inconspicuous at Tianfeng Mountain, subtly feigning death to escape towards a brighter future. Unexpectedly, he nearly met his end before achieving his goals, drawing the attention of his senior sister. Truth be told, the knowledge that this woman would ultimately cripple his cultivation and obliterate his path to immortality was a bitter pill to swallow. It took considerable effort for him to refrain from cursing her in his heart. Yet, it now seemed he was expected to harbor goodwill towards her. Ugh, how absurd. But, at this moment, he was far too weak, devoid of strength to mount any effective resistance, and could only endure, remaining a mere shadow. Power. The yearning for sufficient power. An overwhelming strength capable of crushing everything. At that moment, Jiang Yuan's desire for power reached unprecedented heights. After a while, having regained his calm, he began to contemplate his forthcoming plans. Currently, his cultivation had only reached the 7th level of body tempering, and he must hasten to achieve perfection in this stage. Diligently honing his foundation, as he understood it, the primary aim of the body tempering stage was to enhance the strength of the body. If a cultivator's physique were likened to a barrel that could accumulate spiritual energy, the amount of energy it could hold depended on the barrel's size and depth. Hence, one could not afford to be negligent in the body tempering stage. With this thought in mind, Jiang Yuan settled onto the stone bed, swiftly entering a meditative state to practice the 10,000 thunder technique, allowing spiritual energy to cleanse and temper his body. A month later, exhaling a breath of stale air, Jiang Yuan emerged from his meditative state, feeling the surging power and spiritual energy coursing through his body, a smile inevitably spreading across his face. He had reached the pinnacle of the body tempering stage. With the aid of the system's electric impetus, his progress had been astonishingly swift. In fact, He had achieved perfection in this stage half a month prior, with the remaining days spent refining his physique. Jiang Yuan could distinctly sense that the meridians and dantian in his body now harbored 5 times the capacity for spiritual energy compared to half a month ago. According to the research he had conducted beforehand, the true limit of the body refinement realm exceeds the original spiritual energy reserves by a factor of 10. To traverse his path of cultivation more extensively and steadily, Jiang Yuan naturally aspired to reach this limit. However, before achieving that, it was time to acquire a tome of offensive techniques. Furthermore, he sought to purchase some fasting pills. Thanks to the fasting pills, a single one could sustain him for 3 days without the need for food or drink, allowing him to focus entirely on his cultivation. Unfortunately, he had exhausted his supply and needed to procure new fasting pills. With this thought in mind, Jiang Yuan rose and exited his cave dwelling. Upon leaving, he proceeded down the mountain, on his way to Tianfeng Mountain. His affordable master had already provided him with a general overview of the situation and layout of the Tianwu sect. Thus, he had a clear objective as he walked towards the technique pavilion. However, before he could take many steps, a voice resonated behind him. Chapter 4. Sacred Land of Nine Thunder, are you the new junior disciple accepted by our master? Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan's mind instantly confirmed the identity of the speaker. It was his inexpensive second senior sister, Wang Miaohua, the very individual who would, in the future, relentlessly torment him like a madwoman when her temper flared. Although these events lay in the future, knowing what was to come, he was disinclined to show any goodwill towards her. However, given his current lack of strength, he had to learn patience. Once he escaped this place and achieved his goals, he would undoubtedly return to settle the score. With this in mind, Jiang Yuan suppressed his emotions and turned around, feigning a respectful bow. Greetings, second senior sister. Oh, quite perceptive, aren't you? You recognized my identity immediately. As these words accompanied the sound of approaching footsteps, Jiang Yuan felt a pat on his shoulder. Impressive. Within just over a month of entering, you've reached the 3rd level of the body refinement realm. It seems you have not been idle during this time. Though Wang Miaohua's appearance paled in comparison to Waxinian, she possessed a unique and spirited charm that was captivating in its own right, complemented by her striking figure, which garnered her countless admirers within the sect. Regrettably, this second senior sister was rather reckless and straightforward, often acting before thinking. At times, she would ignite like a powder keg. It was precisely because of these traits that this thoughtless individual would easily fall prey to the machinations of the future scheming vixen, becoming ensnared in her ploys. Consequently, regardless of their beauty, in Jiang Yuan's eyes, they were mere pink skeletons, unworthy of consideration. Nonetheless, he did not reveal his sentiments, maintaining his composed demeanor as he responded. I appreciate your praise, second senior sister. Is there anything else you require? If not, I shall be on my way to the technique pavilion. Go ahead, go ahead. Clearly, this second senior sister had merely come to see the newly accepted disciple of their master, having no other matters to discuss. With a wave of her hand, she dismissed him, allowing him to depart. Without a word, Jiang Yuan turned and walked towards the pavilion of techniques. Observing the departure of this handsome junior brother, Wang Miaohua shifted her gaze and inquired, Is this all right, senior sister? Yes, thank you for your assistance, Hua Xinyan replied. No sooner had she spoken than her figure appeared beside Wang Miaohua, her eyes fixed intently on Jiang Yuan, who was descending the mountain in the distance. Senior sister, have you taken a liking to the junior brother? Wang Miaohua jested, noticing the expression on her senior's face. However, she failed to observe any signs of shyness. Instead, Hua Xinyan appeared somewhat troubled. Just moments ago, she had detected an emotion emanating from the junior brother, a sentiment that was neither kindness nor malice but rather pure indifference. A disregard that masked a heart cloaked in respect, viewing them all as untrustworthy strangers. Realizing this, Hua Xinyan fell silent, resolute in keeping her thoughts to herself. She believed that the junior brother's aloof demeanor stemmed from their failure to provide warmth from their sect, as they had scarcely crossed paths. Thus, she pondered how to convey the warmth of their sect to him. Jiang Yuan, whose strength had yet to reach the divine transformation realm, lacked spiritual awareness and was oblivious to the fact that, aside from the second senior sister, the senior sister had been observing him from the shadows. Even if he had been aware, he would have considered his earlier demeanor flawless, effectively portraying his current identity. Had Jiang Yuan known his senior sister's thoughts, he would have scoffed at them. Aware that he would inevitably become adversaries with these so-called seniors in the future, he abandoned any notions of camaraderie. He regarded this place merely as a stepping stone on his path to immortality and resolved to flee without a backward glance when the time was ripe. As for why he did not prepare in advance to establish relationships or eliminate the green tea BTCH in her infancy, it could be said that Jiang Yuan, endowed with memories of his past life, understood all too well that such foolish sentiments often lead to regret in the realm of cultivation, lacking reason, logic, and common sense. Thus, rather than waste time on such matters, he preferred to devote himself to rigorous training, striving to attain an unparalleled strength that none could contend with. On his way down to the Pavilion of Techniques, Jiang Yuan noticed a colossal celestial vessel stationed on the expansive and level grounds of the Tianwu sect. Measuring nearly 1,000 meters in length, it exuded an inexplicable aura of pressure, indicating the arrival of a significant figure at the Tianwu sect. Aware of this, Jiang Yuan shook his head, dismissing the thought from his mind. His immediate priority was to acquire an appropriate cultivation technique, obtain the monthly resources for practice, and then return to his cave residence to continue his training. With this clear objective in mind, Jiang Yuan disregarded the discussions of the surrounding disciples of the sect. Yet the name of the Nine Thunder Sanctuary echoed in his ears, compelling him to recall the diligent studies he had undertaken. The Nine Thunder Sanctuary stood as the sole sacred ground in his state, enjoying a status so exalted that no sect dared to provoke it. Moreover, the prominent sects invariably looked up to the Nine Thunder Sanctuary, with the Heavenly Martial sect being one among them. However, what captured Jiang Yuan's attention even more was the sanctuary's unique characteristic. Nearly all practitioners who joined were endowed with thunder spiritual roots. Within the Nine Thunder Sanctuary, the abundance of formidable thunder-based techniques was staggering, accompanied by a systematic approach particularly suited for the cultivation of thunder practitioners. It could be asserted that, provided one possessed exceptional talent and extraordinary comprehension and did not falter along the way, they could surely achieve their own path to immortality. In Jiang Yuan's eyes, the Nine Thunder Sanctuary was exceptionally fitting for him, a practitioner blessed with the same thunder spiritual root. When the time came for him to feign death and escape from the Heavenly Martial sect, he could endeavor to join the Nine Thunder Sanctuary in pursuit of an opportunity for transcendence. Having arranged his future course, a surge of motivation welled up within Jiang Yuan, prompting him to quicken his pace. The Pavilion of Techniques stood tall as a 7-story tower, teeming with disciples coming and going. Jiang Yuan paused at the entrance, presenting his inner sect disciple token to the elder guarding the pavilion for inspection. The elder merely cast a fleeting glance before speaking in a subdued tone, stating that he could only select one technique not exceeding the mortal level, which was strictly prohibited from dissemination, with severe penalties for violators. Although his tone was casual, the weight of his presence rendered Jiang Yuan momentarily rigid, causing him to swallow hard. Yet, this pressure was fleeting. Once he regained control of his faculties, Jiang Yuan bowed respectfully and entered the Pavilion of Techniques. This reaction surprised the elder, who shot him a brief glance before quickly averting his gaze. Chapter 5. The Silver-Haired. Golden-eyed maiden. Though Jiang Yuan was an inner sect disciple, his exhibited prowess was merely at the third stage of body refinement. Consequently, he could only choose techniques suitable for himself on the first floor of the Pavilion of Techniques. Here, the techniques primarily belonged to the mortal level, relying on a combination of one's physique and a portion of spiritual energy to generate sufficiently powerful strikes. In the mortal realm, these were akin to the combat methods employed by martial warriors. However, this type of technique bore a distinct advantage, even if one's spiritual energy was depleted. As long as there remained vitality in the body, one could continue to wield it, albeit with diminished force. Thus, Jiang Yuan did not regard these techniques with disdain. Rather, he pondered the techniques he currently required, though his thoughts began to drift. During this period, the majority of his time was devoted to cultivation, yet in his leisure moments, he also perused the records of potential targets provided by the system. A significant event was destined to unfold in the near future. In merely 4 months, the malevolent blood demon sect would sever ties with the Heavenly Martial sect, leading to a monumental clash between the two colossal forces. The outcome of the battle revealed that although the Heavenly Martial sect emerged victorious, it was a Pyrrhic victory, leading to its decline and allowing even the most insignificant individuals to gain entry to its gates. According to the system records, only those of inferior spiritual roots, such as a certain green tea disciple, were permitted to enter the Heavenly Martial sect. However, the specifics of how one could gain access to Tianfeng Mountain remained unrecorded, leaving Jiang Yuan in ignorance. Nevertheless, what occupied his mind was the opportunity to exploit the invasion of the blood demon sect to realize his plan of feigned death, thereby granting him the freedom to soar high like a bird or swim freely like a fish. A beautiful new life beckoned him. With this thought, a pleasant smile graced Jiang Yuan's lips. The moment to escape had been determined. He needed to continue his efforts. He silently clenched his fists, motivating himself, and his gaze inadvertently fell upon a nearby bookshelf filled with martial arts texts. One particular technique, known as the thunderclap fist, caught his attention. Instinctively, Jiang Yuan picked it up and glanced at the brief description, which indicated it was a powerful lightning-based attack technique. He wished to delve deeper into the details, but was met with a golden prompt. Do you wish to select this technique? It seemed that to prevent any greedy individuals from exploiting the system and acquiring numerous techniques without proper acknowledgement, a rule had been established requiring confirmation before one could view the content. Thus, Jiang Yuan refrained from making an immediate choice, leaving it as a secondary option. After surveying the first tier of techniques, he discovered that while there were indeed few suitable lightning-based techniques, the fire-based techniques were abundant. This indicated that, for the sake of his future, he would need to escape the heavenly martial sect, as it was evidently unsuitable for his growth. After some contemplation, Jiang Yuan found himself once again before the Thunderclap Fist bookshelf and confirmed his selection. Upon his affirmation, the technique manifested as golden text that directly entered his consciousness. Moments later, all information regarding the Thunderclap Fist appeared in his mind, and the technique automatically returned to the shelf. How convenient. Having absorbed the additional knowledge, Jiang Yuan was eager to test the newly acquired technique. Departing from the martial arts pavilion, he found himself in a secluded forest, far from Tianfeng Mountain. Once assured that he was alone, he commenced his practice of the Thunderclap Fist with unwavering focus. Thanks to his exceptional comprehension, each punch he threw brought forth novel insights. The visible enhancement captivated him, and he immersed himself entirely in the technique. As time passed, his proficiency with the technique steadily increased. After merely a day and night, he had achieved a profound understanding of the Thunderclap Fist, now just a step away from perfection. Each punch he delivered resonated with the essence of thunder, charging forward with unrelenting vigor. The surrounding trees had been ravaged, forcibly cleared away to create a vast open space. With a deep breath, Jiang Yuan felt an exhilarating rush coursing through him, his entire being filled with a sense of liberation. Raising his gaze towards the horizon, he noticed the first rays of dawn breaking, a clear indication that a day and night had passed. With this realization, he resolved to continue practicing the Thunderbolt Fist, aspiring to achieve its perfection within the day. Jiang Yuan understood the essence of time and cultivation. Hence, he had chosen to sever ties with the mundane world and dedicate himself to the path of immortality at the Tianwu Gate. After all, his family in this lifetime had ceased to exist. As his thoughts returned to his practice, he inadvertently noticed a figure that had appeared beside him, prompting a reflexive glance in that direction. Before him stood a girl with exquisitely crafted silver hair and golden eyes, seemingly a few years younger than him, yet exuding an undeniable allure. When had she arrived, Jiang Yuan was oblivious. Moreover, he sensed no trace of spiritual energy emanating from her, as if she were an ordinary person. However, her extraordinary demeanor, coupled with the desolate surroundings, hinted at her remarkable identity. There was a substantial likelihood that she was a seasoned enchantress in disguise. Realizing this, Jiang Yuan respectfully clasped his hands and greeted her. Greetings, esteemed senior. May I inquire as to your purpose here? Have I inadvertently disturbed your tranquility during my cultivation? If so, I shall take my leave at once. In an effort to avoid any untoward consequences, Jiang Yuan positioned himself as humble and submissive, silently hoping that this enigmatic senior bore him no ill will. Otherwise, he would be forced to waste his precious teleportation talisman. Fortunately, the concerns that plagued Jiang Yuan did not materialize. The girl approached with an air of intrigue, taking a few steps closer before assessing him with her keen gaze. Your comprehension is quite remarkable. Despite practicing merely a low-grade mortal technique, you have grasped its essence in just a day and night. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yuan felt a cold sweat trickle down his back. He had sought refuge in this remote location precisely to conceal his extraordinary comprehension, yet here he was, discovered even in such seclusion. Perhaps sensing his unease, the unfamiliar girl offered a gentle smile and continued, Relax, I am merely curious. I mean you no harm. Although your comprehension is indeed formidable, your innate talent leaves something to be desired. Chapter 6, an intriguing standard with that. The girl suddenly extended her delicate hand to rest upon Jiang Yuan's abdomen. The unexpected sensation sent a jolt through him, compelling him to resist the urge to activate his teleportation talisman. At the moment of his immense anxiety, the girl's charming face lost its playful interest, replaced by a look of surprise and astonishment. However, this expression quickly vanished, giving way to a gentle smile. How intriguing. Little one, are you a disciple of the heavenly martial sect? The sudden inquiry left Jiang Yuan momentarily stunned, but he quickly regained his composure and replied earnestly, Yes. I am an inner disciple of the heavenly martial sect. Upon hearing his answer, the girl nodded and raised her hand, revealing a token carved from purple jade, inscribed with the titles of elders. She then extended the token towards Jiang Yuan and softly said, Please accept this token. If you have an interest in visiting the Nine Thunder Sacred Land, you may use this token to find me. After speaking, the girl, due to her height, could only smile as she lightly patted Jiang Yuan's chest, and in the next moment, she vanished as if she had never existed. Jiang Yuan, bewildered yet holding the token, felt a tingling sensation emanating from the purple jade, reminding him that the previous encounter was not a mere illusion. Was that elder from the Nine Thunder Sacred Land? Jiang Yuan murmured to himself, momentarily torn between joy and concern. He had not anticipated encountering an elder from the Nine Thunder Sacred Land so soon, especially since it was a place he had only contemplated visiting the day before. Life truly is filled with unexpected turns. With this thought echoing in his heart, Jiang Yuan lost the desire to continue his cultivation and decided to return to his dwelling. Meanwhile, high above in the sky, the silver-haired girl gazed intently at Jiang Yuan's departing figure, softly murmuring, "A thunder root, and one that is currently undergoing transformation. I did not expect the ancient texts to be true. The root is not fixed for life. It can indeed be enhanced." The girl harbored no ill will towards Jiang Yuan. On the contrary, she was profoundly curious about the extent to which his root could evolve. Could it reach the same heights as hers? Could it ascend to the level of a heavenly root, surpassing even the finest? As Jiang Yuan walked back to his dwelling, his thoughts were a whirlwind. He had not expected that a simple outing would lead to an encounter with an elder of the Nine Thunder Sacred Land, and it seemed that his innate understanding had garnered their attention. Perhaps, after leaving the heavenly martial sect, he could use the jade token bestowed upon him to venture to the Nine Thunder Sacred Land and join its ranks. The very notion of his path being laid out before him filled Jiang Yuan with a delightful sense of anticipation. Just as he approached the entrance of his dwelling, he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Little junior brother, you're back. I thought something had happened to you since you were gone for so long." Jiang Yuan turned to see his senior sister, Foreseeing, gazing at him with concern etched across her face, her worry unmistakable. Truth be told, had he been unaware of the future, he might have been moved by her genuine care. However, since learning about the experiences of the frugal senior sister before him, Jiang Yuan has discerned her character. To encapsulate this frugal senior sister in a single phrase, one might say she possesses a great love in her heart. She cherishes her master, junior sisters, and junior brothers, and holds affection for her sect, hoping that everyone can lead a good life, her face adorned with a smile. Ordinarily, such a profound love would be regarded positively, yet from Jiang Yuan's perspective, it is steeped in irony. For when this immense love becomes entirely concentrated upon one individual, it morphs into something rather narrow-minded and blind. Regardless of whether this person is virtuous or malevolent, any heinous act they commit will be embraced and forgiven by her. This elucidates why, in the future, despite being capable of sensing the good and evil in others, this frugal senior sister remains steadfastly by the side of that deceitful woman, who seeks to slander him with baseless accusations. Contemplating this, Jiang Yuan inexplicably feels a chuckle rising within him. The path of cultivation. Consumed by romantic entanglements, what then is the purpose of cultivating? Their minds are filled with notions of heart-wrenching love. Eyes wide open to love, eyes closed to love. It seems as though one cannot survive without love. Would it not be better to forsake this celestial fate and return to being a mere mortal? But of course, this is a female-centric sect, and such romantic pursuits are perfectly normal. Thus, he decides to say nothing, offering respect and blessings instead. Jiang Yuan silently critiques in his heart, reconciling with himself. Yet, his actions remain swift, responding with a practiced bow. He reassures the concerned senior sister, explaining that he is merely lost in time due to his cultivation practices. Upon hearing this, Hua Xinyun's beautiful visage beams with a smile, though she senses that her junior brother remains emotionally distant. Nevertheless, she is not worried, for she believes that with the passage of time and their companionship, this junior brother will surely open his heart. Subsequently, Hua Xinyun engages in small talk, keeping Jiang Yuan at the entrance of the cave for 10 minutes. However, Jiang Yuan demonstrates remarkable patience, smiling as he listens to her ramble, casting subtle glances at this frugal senior sister. Perhaps it is this nuanced gaze that prompts Hua Xinyun to realize her behavior may be somewhat burdensome to her junior brother. Building a relationship cannot be rushed. It requires a gradual approach. Acknowledging this, she voluntarily ceases the conversation, smiling as she departs. Watching the frugal senior sister leave, Jiang Yuan turns without a glance and returns to his cave, exhaling deeply. Engaging in feigned politeness before someone he despises indeed tests one's ability to manage expressions and mindset. Yet, this is of little concern, for the next phase entails retreating into cultivation. However, before he begins, a curious question lingers in Jiang Yuan's mind, prompting him to inquire of the system. System, by what criteria do you determine a target for potential pursuit? As Jiang Yuan discerned, the three potential targets presented by the system were individuals who would undoubtedly inflict considerable harm upon him in the future. However, Upon encountering the silver-haired maiden today, the system remained silent, failing to designate her as a target for conquest. This prompted a bold notion to emerge in Jiang Yuan's mind. The criteria for identifying a target must rely on the potential for future negative repercussions against him. From a rational perspective, the system's encouragement to pursue these individuals likely aimed to enable him to avert disastrous outcomes by confronting them. If this were indeed the case, he would acquire an intriguing standard. Those deemed as targets by the system were predominantly individuals of questionable character, allowing him the opportunity to distance himself from such toxic individuals and eschew any connection with them. Conversely, those who were not classified as targets by the system indicated that they bore no future threat to him, thus permitting a certain degree of interaction with them. Nevertheless, these contemplations remained mere conjectures and fabrications within Jiang Yuan's mind, awaiting confirmation from the system. Anticipating the system's response, he listened intently as its voice finally resonated. Uncertain. Host, the system lacks clarity regarding your statements. The system is only aware of the potential value of these targets. Beyond that, it is entirely ignorant. The implication behind the system's words left Jiang Yuan with a nuanced expression, reinforcing his suspicions. It appeared that the system's criteria could indeed be utilized to ascertain whether certain individuals were suitable for friendship or even deeper connections. Moreover, Jiang Yuan had glimpsed certain opportunities within the future experiences of the three potential targets, which he could seize prior to his departure from Tianwu Gate to the Jiolei Sacred Land. With his future meticulously planned, he set aside his tumultuous thoughts, seeking tranquility and focus as he entered a meditative state for cultivation. 2 months later, atop Tianfeng Mountain, Jiang Yuan sat cross-legged upon a stone bed, his eyes firmly shut, surrounded by a dozen mid-grade spirit stones. In the next moment, he absorbed the spiritual energy from these stones, only to be met with a violent surge of thunder that ravaged his body. The system's electric punishment, though excruciating, was swiftly overshadowed by the benefits that followed, allowing Jiang Yuan to forget the agony. After enduring numerous shocks over the past 3 months, he had developed a degree of resistance, rendering him unafraid. As the electric currents coursed through him, his cultivation began to ascend, and both his spiritual roots and physique underwent remarkable transformations. Soon, the external spiritual energy began to fluctuate, but he quickly reined it in, employing a technique to conceal his presence. After a brief moment of adjusting his breath, Jiang Yuan opened his eyes, filled with delight, and took stock of his current situation. With the assistance of the system during this period, he had successfully pushed the limits of his body refinement to the extreme, reaching what is known as the ultimate realm, and had acquired a spiritual power reserve 10 times greater than before. Upon attaining this pinnacle, Jiang Yuan discovered that his spiritual root was showing signs of transforming into a superior grade. Consequently, he dedicated most of his time to nurturing his spiritual root with the help he received from the system. On this particular day, not only did he gracefully step into the first level of the spirit nurturing realm, but his medium-grade thunder spiritual root successfully metamorphosed into a superior-grade thunder spiritual root. As Jiang Yuan attempted to absorb spiritual energy, he found that with his newfound superior-grade thunder spiritual root, the speed of absorption was 5 times that of his previous capacity. This implied that a single day of cultivation now equated to 5 days of effort in the past. Such a disparity in cultivation would only widen over time, resulting in an unimaginable gap. He began to understand why the nature of one's spiritual root dictates a cultivator's future and the extent of their journey in the realm of immortality. Now, all that was needed was to grant Jiang Yuan sufficient time, and he would eventually possess even higher-grade spiritual roots, allowing him to traverse further along his path of cultivation. Realizing this, a smile crept upon his lips, and after confirming that no one was around, he let out 3 hearty laughs, releasing the joy and pressure that had accumulated within him during this time. After all, Jiang Yuan had embarked on this path in pursuit of immortality and enlightenment. Yet having only just begun, the reality of his situation weighed heavily on his heart. Nevertheless, he found solace in knowing that the time for his departure was just around the corner. He simply needed to await the right moment. Regaining his composure, Jiang Yuan redirected his focus inward, assessing the condition of his body. After 3 months of system-enhanced stimulation, he could sense that wondrous changes were occurring within him. If he were not mistaken, he was on the verge of awakening an innate physique, specifically one related to the thunder element. This was indeed a fortuitous development, for aside from the spiritual root, a powerful physique significantly influences a cultivator's potential. The combination of a high-quality spiritual root with a formidable physique could be likened to adding wings to a tiger. Now, as his physique was about to awaken with just a few more jolts, Jiang Yuan couldn't help but express his gratitude towards the system in his heart. Without it, he might have faced the tragic fate that awaited him in the future. Naturally, His thoughts were known to the system. Were the system to have a physical form, it would surely roll its eyes and scoff. Since the host wishes to thank the system, perhaps it is time to undertake the tasks assigned by it. What a troublesome host. Clearly, the system was at a loss when faced with Jiang Yuan, who disregarded the tasks yet remained unafraid of the system's potential retribution, merely expressing its discontent verbally. In response, Jiang Yuan smiled gently, silently acknowledging the system's sentiments. Oh, my dear system. Has anyone ever informed you that your manner of cursing resembles that of a golden-haired, blue-eyed Gothic lowly? A mere question mark encapsulates the system's inner turmoil, confusion, and culminates in a fit of indignation. The phrase perverted lowly enthusiast left the system unresponsive, no matter how fervently Jiang Yuan called out. There was no reply from the system, which only elicited a faint smile from him. During this period, he often amused himself by teasing the system, alleviating the solitude that gnawed at his heart. Cultivation knows no passage of time. One must endure the loneliness and isolation. At the outset, Jiang Yuan believed he had adequately prepared himself mentally. Yet, the reality of solitude proved to be far more complex than he had anticipated. The sensation of opening one's eyes only to find several days have slipped by, losing track of time, yearning to converse, yet having no one to confide in, leads to a dialogue with oneself. Such feelings are ineffably profound. Fortunately, he still had the system to engage with. After his playful interlude with the system, Jiang Yuan redirected his focus to his cultivation, reflecting on the preparatory work he had undertaken. Achieving the peak of the body refinement stage brings benefits, but it also presents certain challenges. An increase in the reservoir of spiritual energy signifies that the Dantian must absorb an even greater volume of this energy. Moreover, the spirit cultivation stage is intrinsically about absorbing and refining spiritual energy. This means that a cultivator must not only attract spiritual energy, but also compress, refine, and then compress it again as much as possible, transforming this intangible gas into mist, then into liquid, and finally into solid form. The more refined the energy, the greater its potency, leading to higher damage from released spells, reduced consumption, and extended duration of spiritual energy. Hence, this stage remains one that necessitates a solid foundation. Chapter 8. Jiang Yuan did not wish to gamble, nor did he dare to. Regardless of how rapidly a cultivator may ascend in the body refinement stage, progress must decelerate upon reaching the spirit cultivation stage to further enhance the strength of their spiritual energy. Otherwise, as one ascends in rank, cultivators who have neglected their foundation become increasingly unstable. Thus, instances of defeating opponents across minor or even major realms are not uncommon. The primary reason lies in the eagerness for rapid advancement, neglecting the essential honing of one's skills. Fully aware of this, Jiang Yuan chose to diligently refine his spiritual energy. Additionally, he noticed something peculiar. When absorbing spiritual energy, he consistently perceived odd little golden specks of light. These strange luminescent orbs posed no harm, nor did they impart any discernible positive or negative effects. Uncertain of their nature, Jiang Yuan contemplated seeking someone to elucidate the situation. However, reflecting on his circumstances, he decided against it. Before anything else, he needed to descend the mountain to collect the cultivation resources allotted to inner disciples. With these thoughts in mind, Jiang Yuan tidied his tattered inner garments and donned the attire of a disciple from his sect before stepping out of his cave abode. The gentle sunlight cascaded upon him, accentuating his striking features and physique. Thanks to the assistance of the system, Jiang Yuan's appearance and form had been significantly enhanced, elevating his already handsome visage to new heights. The ethereal aura he exuded further magnified his celestial charm. As he walked along the path, who could refrain from exclaiming in their hearts, "On the road, his countenance is like jade. This young gentleman is unparalleled in the world." However, among the disciples on Tianfeng Mountain, there were but a few, comprising only Jiang Yuan and his two senior sisters. As the youngest peak cultivator in the shaping god realm of Tianwu sect, his master, Jiang Yuan, held considerable esteem, being regarded as a formidable contender for the next sect leader. Unless the sect master personally intervened, Jiang Yuan possessed the highest authority on Tianfeng Mountain. The decision to accept disciples rested solely upon her discretion. Even should she choose to take on disciples, they must possess extraordinary talents. As exemplified by Hua Xinyun and Wang Yaohua, the former boasted a superior water elemental root, complemented by a 7-aperture Linglong heart, while the latter wielded a superior fire elemental root and a natural fire spirit body. Both were exceptionally gifted, their cultivation levels commendable, making them the paragons of their generation within Tianwu sect, coupled with their remarkable beauty and grace. It could be said that these two were the dreams of the male disciples of Tianwu sect, objects of their admiration. As for Jiang Yuan, due to his penchant for being reclusive, aside from the elders who had heard of him, The other disciples remained oblivious to the fact that a new face had appeared on the rarely accepting Tianfeng mountain. He was unaware of their existence. But Jiang Yuan was indifferent, or rather, he welcomed this circumstance. When the time came for him to abscond, he would not have to worry about being recognized by the members of Tianwu sect. Just as Jiang Yuan was about to descend the mountain, he heard a call from behind. His senior sister, Hua Xinyan. Junior brother, please wait. I have matters to discuss with you. Upon hearing this, he halted, inwardly praying for no troublesome issues to arise, and turned around with a smile, bowing in greeting. To his surprise, he noticed his second senior sister, Wang Yaohua, following closely behind. What was on the tip of his tongue was abruptly altered to, "Greetings, esteemed sisters. May I inquire what brings you to seek me?" Hua Xinyan approached him with a gentle smile and briefly explained the situation. In essence, their master felt that Jiang Yuan's relentless focus on cultivation was not entirely beneficial. Thus, she had instructed the two senior sisters to guide him to a second-tier secret realm for some practical training, slaying monsters and experiencing bloodshed, as such endeavors would facilitate his rapid growth. After conveying this, Hua Xinyan assessed her junior brother's aura and noted that his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the body refining realm. His presence was solid and grounded, devoid of any signs of impatience. She nodded subtly, eagerly awaiting her junior brother's response. As the protagonist, Jiang Yuan swiftly recalled the future trajectory he had meticulously organized. He remembered that today marked the moment when his two junior sisters embarked on their journey of experience, coinciding with the critical escalation of conflicts with the Blood Demon sect. However, he sensed that he would not partake in this particular endeavor, attributing this to the butterfly effect triggered by his actions. Yet, Jiang Yuan did not harbor any illusions of altering the future. Although his esteemed master and senior sisters appeared perfectly normal at present, none could predict the tumultuous consequences that would ensue upon the arrival of the quintessential green tea bimbo, a trope often found in female-oriented narratives. Jiang Yuan was unwilling to take such a gamble, nor did he dare to, as it pertained to his path of cultivation, where any misstep could prove catastrophic. Resolving himself once more to abscond, he nevertheless decided not to decline this expedition, for within the secret realm lay a fortuitous opportunity he coveted, the awakening thunder herb. Securing it in advance would significantly reduce the time required for his body to awaken. With his decision made, Jiang Yuan nodded in agreement. "I understand, senior sister. I shall accompany you." "Excellent. Without further ado, let us set forth." Upon hearing the junior disciple's acquiescence, Hua Xinyan clapped her hands joyfully and turned to her second junior sister. "Second junior sister, shall we depart?" "Ah, I am all set." Wang Yaohua, brimming with excitement at the prospect of finally embarking on their journey, could hardly contain her enthusiasm. Observing the exuberance of his senior sisters, Jiang Yuan maintained his serene smile and followed closely behind them toward the trial's destination. The journey was long, necessitating travel by spirit vessel. On board, tranquility prevailed, and before long, 2 days had swiftly elapsed. Qingyin City, governed under the auspices of the Tianwu sect, warmly welcomed Jiang Yuan and his fellow inner disciples, even the core disciples, with the city's lord personally receiving them and arranging accommodations within the picturesque city estate. "Esteemed immortals of Tianwu sect, is there any assistance you require? This old man is at your service." Observing the city lord, who, despite his status, wore a sycophantic expression, Jiang Yuan's gaze deepened. This was the profound impact and privileges bestowed by joining a prominent sect. If the Tianwu sect, ranked among the top 10, wielded such influence, what magnitude of power could the Nine Thunder Sacred Land possess? Truth be told, Jiang Yuan had begun to eagerly anticipate the day he would join the Nine Thunder Sacred Land. As he lost himself in contemplation, the amiable Hua Xinyan had no intention of abusing her position and simply requested the relevant information regarding the secret realm, dismissing any further assistance as unnecessary. "Very well, esteemed immortal. I shall promptly provide all the information regarding the secret realm." With that, the city lord summoned a servant who approached with a jade slip, indicating that all pertinent information was contained within. After the city lord departed, Hua Xinyan began to confirm the information contained within the jade slip and subsequently conveyed the situation to her junior disciples. The secret realm they were about to enter opened once every decade, each time attracting numerous cultivators whose powers lay beneath the god formation realm. The next opening was merely 3 days away. Chapter 9. Indeed, it is as such. Upon hearing that the secret realm would not open for another 3 days, Jiang Yuan felt a surge of excitement within. The awakening thunder herb, which he sought, was hidden within that realm, though its exact location remained elusive. This information had only been briefly mentioned in the system's future records, noting that a fortunate cultivator would acquire it. However, Jiang Yuan was not concerned about locating the herb, for his body, having been transformed with the system's assistance, would possess an inexplicable guiding sense towards all matters related to thunder. Thus, when the time came to venture into the secret realm, he would rely on this instinct to find the awakening thunder herb he desired. Yet, a pressing question loomed in his mind. How could he separate himself from his two senior sisters once they entered the secret realm? A thought flickered in Jiang Yuan's mind regarding the disciples of the Blood Demon sect, who, upon learning of their rivals from the Tianwu sect arriving, planned to lure them into a trap within the secret realm. They indeed succeeded, but only partially. They managed to ensnare the two senior sisters within their ambush. Yet their inadequate strength led to their own downfall, with only one escaping alive. This incident ultimately ignited a fierce conflict between the two major sections. Jiang Yuan had no intention of altering this future, as such a course of events would ultimately benefit him. The longer he remained in the Tianwu sect, the more uncomfortable he felt. Moreover, during the ensuing battle between the two sects, he could seize the opportunity to obtain the awakening thunder herb. With his plans set, he eagerly anticipated the secret realm journey 3 days hence. However, just as he intended to cultivate during those 3 days, his senior sister approached him gently. Junior brother, since it is rare for you to come down the mountain, why not take a stroll around Qingyin City to relax your mind? Faced with her concern, Jiang Yuan remained calm internally, though he responded with a facade of a polite smile. I apologize, senior sister. This is my first visit to the secret realm, and I wish to make some preparations, so I cannot accompany you. Upon receiving his refusal, a fleeting shadow of disappointment crossed Hua Xinyun's gentle face, quickly vanishing as she maintained her smile. Well, preparing is never a bad thing. I shall not disturb you further. At that moment, Wang Miaohua chimed in. Since junior brother will not join, I will accompany you, senior sister, for a stroll instead. Thank you. Then we shall take our leave, Hua Xinyun replied softly, her gaze shifting away from her junior brother, concealing her inner sadness as she exited with her junior sister. Jiang Yuan did not gaze upon their departing figures, yet his eyes reflected a profound detachment. He was, of course, aware that this beneficent senior sister aimed to foster an improved relationship between them. However, ever since he became cognizant of the events that were destined to unfold, the notion of enhancing their bond had become utterly untenable. For Jiang Yuan, these two senior sisters, along with their mentor, were destined to embrace that green tea vixen in their future demise. His perspective was shaped by the vision of their eventual fate. After he had been rendered powerless, expelled from his sect, and had met a solitary and anguished end, the green tea vixen would, during one of her habitual antics, provoke a formidable figure from the central domain. Encountering such an insurmountable obstacle, her fate was all but sealed. The thoughtless mentor and senior sisters, in their misguided attempts to protect this green tea vixen, would only bring calamity upon themselves. Not only would they face obliteration at the hands of this great figure, but the Tianwu sect would also vanish entirely from the annals of history. To be frank, when Jiang Yuan witnessed their conclusion, a sense of satisfaction coursed through him. Yet, simultaneously, he felt a surge of indignation towards his past self. He was enraged at the folly of those mindless individuals, but more so at his own actions. Given such treatment, why had he not fled? Renouncing the sect was an option. Surely it was preferable to a fate of death and suffering. He could not comprehend it. Taking a deep breath to steady his mind, Jiang Yuan recalled the records of the system. Anger was one thing, but now that he was aware of the future and had prepared for his escape, he resolved to focus on the plans he had set in motion. Leaving other matters aside, he patted his cheeks, and his gaze grew increasingly resolute. A self-reflective inquiry emerged within his mind. Would he seek vengeance for his future self? Indeed, he would, even if all of this had yet to transpire. He would not gamble with fate. Upon entering the room prepared by the city lord, Jiang Yuan dismissed the two young and beautiful maidens within, then seated himself cross-legged upon the bed to commence his cultivation. Meanwhile, walking down the bustling street, Hua Xinyun appeared somewhat distracted. Her companion, Wang Miaohua, though boisterous, noticed her unusual demeanor and gently inquired, "Are you still thinking about the junior brother?" "Yes," Hua Xinyun replied candidly, nodding without reservation. Seeing this, Wang Miaohua placed her hands on her hips, a smile gracing her face as she spoke in a soothing tone. "Do not worry, senior sister. I understand you wish for everyone at Tianfeng Mountain to cherish one another. However, one must recognize that not all personalities are like yours, constantly considering others. Some individuals are slow to warm up, others are reclusive, while some are effusively passionate. Each person is unique. So it would be wise for you to relax." Undoubtedly, these words depict Jiang Yuan as a person of solitary disposition, slow to warm up, who shies away from social interaction and prefers to be alone. However, if Jiang Yuan were to overhear this, he would not voice a denial. Instead, he would likely give a thumbs up in affirmation, exclaiming, "Indeed, that is correct. He embodies such a character, so it is best not to disturb him." Upon hearing her junior sister's comforting words, Huaxinyan realized their truth. Each individual is unique, a world unto themselves. With this thought, the gloom that had accumulated within her dissipated, and a radiant smile returned to her lovely face. Joyfully, she took her sister's hand, and together they strolled leisurely through the city. Meanwhile, above Qingyin City, two figures materialized in an instant. One of them was undeniably the silver-haired, golden-eyed maiden who had handed the jade pendant to Jiang Yuan 2 months prior. Beside her stood another woman, strikingly similar in appearance, yet entirely different in stature and aura, resembling an enlarged version of the silver-haired girl. Together, they resembled sisters. The silver-haired woman cast a glance at the city lord's mansion below, her consciousness swiftly honing in on the jade pendant's location, while also noting Jiang Yuan's presence. Chapter 10. He is, after all, the designated future master of the sacred land. Having pinpointed Jiang Yuan's exact location, the silver-haired woman refrained from taking further action. Instead, she turned to the girl beside her and spoke softly. Did you truly entrust the token of the Grand Elder to this young lad, so easily? Just because you discovered that his spiritual root could evolve into a higher grade? And his comprehension is astonishing? The girl beside her fixed her gaze intently on Jiang Yuan below and replied with a smile. Indeed, and he has succeeded. Merely 2 months ago, this young man possessed a medium-grade thunder spiritual root, yet now he has attained a superior grade. Through the purple jade pendant on Jiang Yuan, the girl could discern his condition without physically touching him. And did you not sense it? This young lad emanates an aura that draws us in. If I am not mistaken, it should be the legendary primordial divine thunder. Upon hearing the term primordial divine thunder, the previously composed woman exhibited a flicker of surprise. For this thunder transcends all others, governed solely by the heavenly Tao, beyond the control of any living being. It is the very thunder used by the heavenly Tao to strike down cultivators. The fact that such a formidable force is wielded by a mere fledgling cultivator cannot simply be described as an opportunity. Could this young man possibly be a progeny of the heavenly Tao? Are you certain there has been no error? The silver-haired woman could not help but voice her concern once more, for the implications were monumental and warranted the utmost precision. Of course, while accounts of the primordial divine thunder are scarce, I am not yet at the age where my vision fails me. The girl's response was devoid of hesitation, her flawless visage radiating confidence. She firmly believed in her judgment and conclusions. Upon hearing this unequivocal reply, the last remnants of doubt in the woman's heart dissipated entirely. Had someone else made such a declaration, she might have harbored some skepticism. Yet, if it was the current self who uttered those words, the truth was almost assured. With that in mind, why not extend a direct invitation for him to join the Nine Thunder Sacred Land? If necessary, we could take him as our disciple. As she spoke, a glimmer of yearning appeared in the woman's tranquil golden eyes. This child not only possessed the legendary primordial divine thunder, but was also undergoing a continuous transformation in his spiritual roots, displaying remarkable comprehension. Given time, achieving sainthood or prominence may merely serve as the child's starting point. Upon hearing her future self express such excitement, the girl gently patted her shoulder, urging her to regain composure. Realizing her own fervor, the woman adjusted her emotions, soon resuming her serene demeanor. However, when her gaze fell upon Jiang Yuan below, there was an undeniable fervor in her eyes. In her view, why should such a promising talent remain within the confines of a mediocre sect like Tianwu? This child should be brought to the Nine Thunder Sacred Land forthwith, nurtured with care, and guided towards a more glorious future. Perhaps sensing the woman's thoughts, the girl smiled and uttered a seemingly disjointed remark. If it weren't for that, why would I have brought you here? The woman's surprise was palpable, and she almost instantaneously grasped the other's intentions. The implication was clear. Bringing her here and revealing so much was meant to ensure she would discreetly protect this child. Nevertheless, it mattered not. She often found herself with idle time, and it was fortuitous that she could observe the child's character and conduct. Very well. I shall heed your words. This child is entrusted to me now. A light chuckle escaped her lips as the girl vanished, leaving the woman fixated on the young lad below. Under the vast sky, within the confines of a house, Jiang Yuan remained blissfully unaware of the scrutiny he was under. His attention was captivated by the system task before him. Task name: Go shopping with senior sister Huaxinyan. Task requirements: Stay for at least 1 hour. Task reward: 1 spirit level attack technique. Task penalty: Unknown decline. Jiang Yuan simply cast a fleeting glance at the task and resolutely rejected it in his mind. Following this, he swiftly removed his clothing, leaving himself completely bare. His practiced ease stemmed from the knowledge that each electric shock primarily took a toll on his garments. Each shock necessitated the sacrifice of an article of clothing, which was quite extravagant. Thus, when alone, Jiang Yuan chose to face the system's electric shocks in his natural state. as he discarded his clothes. The system's punishment swiftly followed. The terrifying thunder raged mercilessly upon his body, as if intent on obliterating everything in its path. Yet, Jiang Yuan, accustomed to such tribulations, disregarded the pain and paralysis inflicted by the electric shocks, wholeheartedly absorbing the system's jolts. Ever since he stepped into the spirit cultivation realm, Jiang Yuan realized that the system's electric shocks were far more invaluable than he had initially perceived. In just a few days, merely by absorbing the remnants of the thunder that had previously tempered his physique, he had elevated his cultivation to the pinnacle of the first level of the spirit cultivation realm. It is noteworthy that even when compressing the absorbed spiritual energy into a solid state, his progress remained remarkably swift. Now, thanks to this latest surge of electric shocks from the system, Jiang Yuan catapulted himself to the second level of the spirit cultivation realm. To be candid, Jiang Yuan had mentally prepared himself for a protracted struggle. The spiritual energy he needed to accumulate was tenfold that of an ordinary practitioner in the spirit cultivation realm. Each level required such an immense quantity, not to mention the necessity of compressing it into a solid form. The vast reservoir of spiritual energy required would demand either ample spirit stones or rare celestial materials. Otherwise, he would be left to squander time. As a mere inconspicuous figure, Jiang Yuan could rely solely on the system's punitive measures. While Jiang Yuan diligently absorbed the electric shocks, a woman in the sky observed the scene with keen interest. Although the initial actions of this young lad had caused her to blush, being single for so long, it was her first encounter with a male physique. However, the subsequent developments captivated her attention entirely. The thunder enveloping Jiang Yuan deeply intrigued her, particularly as her spiritual roots began to yearn for the very essence of that thunder. Realizing the inexplicable desires stirring within her, the woman grasped the significance of the girl's words. The divine thunder, governed solely by the will of the heavens, appearing upon a young boy's form would undoubtedly attract the attention of many with ulterior motives. Understanding this, the woman gazed thoughtfully, resolving to protect this boy, for he was destined to be the future sovereign of her chosen sacred ground. She could not allow any mishaps to occur. With this determination, she decided to make some preparations in advance. Consequently, a jade slip flew from her hand, shimmering as it sped away into the horizon. Chapter 11. Blood Demon Sect. 3 days later, although the enhancement of his power bestowed upon Jiang Yuan a profound sense of security, it was still insufficient. He yearned for even greater strength. However, today marked the commencement of the secret realm, and he needed to secure the awakening thunder spirit herb first. Lost in thought, a knock sounded at his door, accompanied by the voice of his senior sister. "Junior brother, the time has come. We must set forth for the secret realm." Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan rose and made his way to the door. Opening it, he greeted his senior sister with a smile. "Greetings, senior sister." Hua Xinyan nodded, her face adorned with a smile as she led him to Wang Miaohua. Together, the three of them ventured towards the secret realm beyond the city. The area surrounding the secret realm was already bustling with people. Aside from several small and medium sects, a throng of wandering cultivators filled the scene. The only major sect represented is the Tianwu sect, led by Jiang Yuan and his companions. Of course, this is merely on the surface. Secretly, Jiang Yuan is aware of the presence of cultivators from the Blood Demon sect. "Look, the people from Tianwu sect have arrived." Is our luck so poor? Here come the members of a major sect." The attire worn by Jiang Yuan and his group, emblematic of the Tianwu sect, instantly revealed their identities to the keen-eyed cultivators around them. The arrival of a major sect signifies that the bulk of resources within the secret realm will not belong to them. Otherwise, they risk provoking the disciples of these powerful sects, bringing calamity upon their own sections. They fear being expelled and facing the wrath of a formidable force. Such cultivators are reluctant to face such consequences. Consequently, upon realizing the backing of the newcomers, the surrounding cultivators discreetly parted ways, granting passage to the entrance of the secret realm. Witnessing this scene, Jiang Yuan once again reflected on the advantages of having a powerful backing. However, the current outcome is that his group has become the target of many. It appears that the hidden disciples of the Blood Demon sect have already taken note of their presence and are likely preparing some schemes. Just as Jiang Yuan surmised, 5 cultivators with somewhat peculiar auras, observing from the periphery, fixated their piercing gazes upon Jiang Yuan and his companions. Subsequently, these cultivators began to conspire in secrecy. While Jiang Yuan was lost in thought, his senior sister suddenly spoke up beside him. "Little junior brother, once we enter the secret realm, you must be cautious and not wander off. It is quite dangerous inside." "Understood, senior sister. I will remember," Jiang Yuan replied, donning the guise of an obedient junior brother, harboring no thoughts of dissent. Moments later, as the secret realm opened, Jiang Yuan and his companions stepped inside. The cultivators behind them followed suit, including those with the strange auras. The environment within the secret realm was not that of a desolate wilderness overrun with weeds, but rather a vast forest teeming with vitality. The air was fresh, and spiritual energy was abundant, making it an excellent place for cultivation. However, the opening of the secret realm only lasts for a week, after which they must depart. Otherwise, they would have to wait a decade for the next opportunity. Recalling the preparations he had made, Jiang Yuan surveyed his surroundings. "Let us proceed this way, junior sister, little junior brother," he said, following the lead of Foreseeing as they moved toward one direction within the secret realm. Noticing their chosen path, the peculiar cultivators exchanged glances and promptly followed suit. 3 days passed. Time within the secret realm had elapsed for 3 days. During this period, Jiang Yuan diligently accumulated practical experience. However, as he currently only displayed the strength of the 6th stage of body refinement, his senior sisters assigned him to confront beast opponents of similar strength. With his true strength, he could effortlessly dispatch these lowly beasts of the 5th and 6th tiers of body refinement, silencing them with ease. However, in order to conceal his prowess, he found himself engaging in a game of make-believe with these diminutive creatures. Meanwhile, both his affordable senior sister and her equally budget-friendly second sister reaped considerable rewards, acquiring numerous ordinary-grade spiritual herbs, and even a few of the spiritual grade. Yet, Jiang Yuan displayed little interest in these herbs, for they held little value for him. What occupied his mind was the lingering question of when the nefarious blood demon sect would make their move. He was eager to seize the awakening thunder herb. Unbeknownst to him, as his group pressed onward, a pungent stench of blood wafted through the air. Unlike the fetid odor of beast blood, this scent bore a metallic tang. It was not uncommon for cultivators to perish within the secret realm, but what was alarming was the sight of an individual exuding a strong scent of blood, standing amidst a circle of corpses. In the next moment, the blood from these slain cultivators began to be drawn towards this person, creating an image akin to dark sorcery, instantly revealing their identity to Foreseeing, the blood demon sect. Beside her, Wang Miaohua, upon witnessing this scene, was reminded of her family who had fallen victim to the blood demon sect, her eyes welling with fury. Without a moment's hesitation, she unsheathed her sword and charged at the figure. Die! Without warning, she launched her attack, but the blood demon sect cultivator did not remain passive. Rather, they reacted swiftly to parry her blows. The clash of blades ensued, with neither side gaining the upper hand. The blood demon cultivator showed no intent to linger in the confrontation, instead opting to retreat strategically while continuing to engage. Observing this, Jiang Yuan realized the opponent was attempting to lure the 2 senior sisters into a trap. He followed suit, maintaining a prudent distance behind them. After all, as a mere novice of body refinement, it was only natural he could not keep pace with his senior sisters who were at the spirit cultivation stage. Stop right there. Wang Miaohua, embodying a fierce disdain for evil, reached a peak of intensity in her pursuit of the blood demon cultivator. She harbored an unwavering desire to eradicate these bloodthirsty fiends. Junior sister, please remain calm. Exercise caution. Foreseeing, though following closely behind, urged her sister to temper her fervor and beware of falling into the enemy's snare. Yet, consumed by her rage, Wang Miaohua paid no heed, relentlessly pursuing the foe. With no alternative, Foreseeing had no choice but to follow. As the group pursued their quarry, they unwittingly arrived in a relatively open area. Observing this development, Jiang Yuan slowed his pace, sensing that the moment had come. Just as he predicted, the instant the 2 senior sisters stepped into the clearing, a blood-red formation erupted, encircling them. The sudden turn of events left them momentarily stunned, only to be met with the sound of maniacal laughter echoing through the air. Ha ha, 2 brainless fools. How easily you fell into my trap. It's positively hilarious. As soon as the words fell, the remaining 4 practitioners of the blood demon sect materialized around the formation. Chapter 12. He must transform grief into appetite and consume 2 heaping bowls. They mocked Foreseeing and Wang Miaohua within the formation, causing Wang Miaohua to flush instantly, her longsword darting towards one of them with alarming speed. However, it was firmly thwarted by the Crimson Formation. The leading practitioner of the blood demon sect, witnessing this, erupted into another round of raucous laughter. Ha ha ha, struggle all you want. Once you are transformed into blood pills, we shall savor you thoroughly. Ha ha ha. Realizing the formation's true purpose, Foreseeing suddenly recalled her little junior brother who had not entered. She shouted, "Little junior brother, quickly leave this place." Her words drew the attention of the 5 malevolent cultivators to the tardy Jiang Yuan. As their gazes met, an awkward silence enveloped them for a moment. But soon, the leading evil cultivator hastily called out, "Quick, capture this worthless one at the body refinement stage. Do not let him escape." "Huh, leave this to me." With that, A malevolent cultivator at the 9th level of body refinement stepped forward, a sinister smile plastered across his face as he advanced towards Jiang Yuan. Understanding her junior brother's cultivation level, Hua Xinyun urged again, "Little junior brother, run. Do not worry about us. We have our own means of escape." Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan realized he had found an excellent excuse to flee. He donned a visage of 7 parts reluctance and 3 parts sorrow before taking off in a sprint. "Do not run. Stand still." The strange command only spurred Jiang Yuan to run even faster. The pursuing evil cultivator noted that no matter how quickly he accelerated, the boy ahead maintained a steady, unhurried distance. Truthfully, a troubling suspicion began to brew in his mind. Could this fellow be feigning weakness to lure him in? Just as this thought emerged, he dismissed it outright. Ridiculous. He was at the pinnacle of the 9th level of body refinement. The boy before him was merely at the 6th level. He could hardly believe this lad could defeat him in an instant. If he were to be defeated, he would immediately devour the surrounding trees. Unbeknownst to the pursuer, Jiang Yuan, feeling he had created a significant distance, decided it was time to deal with his pursuer and seek the necessary awakening thunder herb. With this in mind, he abruptly halted and turned around, then stepped forward with force. Boom. In the next instant, he surged forward towards the evil cultivator like an unleashed arrow. His speed was so swift that the evil cultivator had no time to react as he approached. Thunderous fist, silently invoking the technique in his mind. Jiang Yuan's fist was instantly enveloped in lightning, crashing down with the might of a thunderstorm upon the head of the evil cultivator before him. The terrifying destructive force prompted the cultivator's head to abandon all hope and flee. The headless sinister cultivator twitched a few times before collapsing onto the ground, resembling a fish suffocated by water, convulsing momentarily before falling still. This was Jiang Yuan's first experience with taking a life, and in such a brutal manner at that. However, to his astonishment, he found his heart remarkably tranquil, untouched by even the slightest ripple of emotion. Could it be that his true self was, after all, a person of cold temperament? This revelation prompted a newfound understanding of himself. Jiang Yuan did not linger on the incident. He was acutely aware of his subsequent plans. After collecting the spoils from the lifeless body, he swiftly departed the scene. As he left, he examined the items in his possession. The small cultivator, at the 9th level of the body refinement stage, possessed nothing of significant value, merely a few hundred low-grade spirit stones and a mundane long sword, which were hardly worth mentioning. After stowing the items in his system backpack, Jiang Yuan paused to discard the rest, then focused intently on sensing the position of his target. In the next moment, a subtle yet undeniable allure emanated from the eastern direction. Although unsure if it was the awakening thunder herb he sought, it was at least a treasure of the lightning attribute that beckoned him. Without hesitation, Jiang Yuan hastened towards the east, unconcerned about the fate of his 2 elder sisters. After all, according to the system's records, they were not only unharmed but had also successfully mounted a counterattack. Of course, should any unforeseen circumstances arise, such as the accidental demise of his elder sisters, he would transform his sorrow into appetite at the feast, indulging in a hearty meal. Yet, as he departed, a figure leisurely trailed behind him. After some time, Jiang Yuan arrived near the treasure that had drawn him in. Even before approaching, he felt a powerful surge of spiritual energy radiating unchecked from within. To his astonishment, it was a lightning-type beast at the 4th level of the spiritual cultivation stage. According to his research, this creature was known as the thunder leopard. Its most formidable trait was its lightning-fast speed, a detail he needed to keep in mind. Rather than charging in recklessly, Jiang Yuan ascended a large tree to survey the situation from a distance. He spotted a massive beast, at least 6 meters in length, leisurely positioned before a spirit herb that occasionally crackled with electric energy. This herb was the very purpose of Jiang Yuan's expedition into the secret realm, the awakening thunder herb. However, it seemed that a stealthy theft would be impossible. He would need to eliminate the thunder leopard to obtain it. With this thought, Jiang Yuan concealed his aura, preparing to unleash a decisive strike. Though the thunder leopard was formidable, his own solid foundation granted him the capability to engage in cross-border combat. Presently, Jiang Yuan possessed only one combat technique, known as the thunderbolt fist. He had cultivated this technique to a flawless level of mastery. It was precisely due to reaching this level that he became aware of the further potential of this martial art, especially with his formidable comprehension enhancing its efficacy. This technique's power surpassed all previous iterations. Furthermore, it allowed him to experience a realm known as the intent of the fist. After a period of refinement, Jiang Yuan had brought the thunderous fist to an entirely new realm, which he named the collapsing thunder fist. With a single strike, mountains would crumble and the earth would quake. Half of his spiritual energy gathered in his right fist, enveloped by azure lightning that exuded a thrilling aura. However, Due to the suppression of his aura, the slumbering thunder leopard remained blissfully unaware of the impending doom. In an instant of reaching a limit, Jiang Yuan moved. Transforming into a bolt of lightning, the thunder roared as he appeared beside the massive form of the thunder leopard. Crackling, boom, as he unleashed his fist. The terrifying lightning wreaked havoc upon the thunder leopard's body. Caught completely off guard, it could do nothing but endure the onslaught. The beast's physique was indeed resilient. Yet it too had its limits, and Jiang Yuan shattered that threshold with ease. Chapter 13, The Sacred Body of Thunderboom. Accompanied by a deafening clap of thunder. The thunder leopard, having taken the full force of the charged attack, was instantly cleaved in two, its colossal form flying apart in opposite directions. Exhaling, Jiang Yuan smiled at the sight of the thunder leopard he had dispatched with a single blow. This was the fruit of his diligent cultivation. Recollecting his thoughts, Jiang Yuan approached the awakening thunder spirit herb and cautiously excavated it along with the surrounding soil. Casting a glance around, a thought crossed his mind. Perhaps he could utilize this herb while the thunder leopard's residual power lingered. Yet, he soon deemed this notion rather foolish, for within this secret realm, threats extended beyond just the beasts. Humans posed a danger as well. Thus, he resolved to seek a safer location. Before departing, he approached the thunder leopard's carcass, using his sword to probe within it for something. Moments later, a pale blue lightning attribute demon core appeared in his hand. Once a demon beast reaches the spirit cultivation realm, it begins to nurture a demon core within, which serves as a significant cultivation resource for cultivators when combined with compatible spirit herbs to concoct elixirs. This lightning attribute demon core was perfectly suited for Jiang Yuan. Having gathered everything, he departed without delay. After some time, Jiang Yuan discovered a cave. Upon ensuring that both the interior and the surrounding area posed no threats, he entered, concealed his aura, and began to refine the awakening thunder spirit herb. The pure lightning attribute spiritual energy surged into Jiang Yuan's body, allowing him to vividly perceive it. His body felt akin to a sponge, diligently absorbing the lightning attribute energy. As he immersed himself in the absorption of the awakening thunder herb, a woman silently appeared outside the cave. She soon entered, and upon discovering Jiang Yuan, recalled her master's instructions. From her storage ring, she produced a flower entirely composed of lightning. With a delicate flick of her finger, the lightning flower soared above Jiang Yuan's head, showering him with increasingly pure thunder attribute spiritual energy, which he continuously absorbed into his body. Having completed her task, the woman did not leave, but rather concealed herself in the shadows to observe Jiang Yuan. Unaware of the unfolding events, Jiang Yuan felt an influx of even purer thunder spiritual energy entering his being. Although it paled in comparison to the system's electric shocks, this surge of energy adeptly stimulated the primordial divine thunder that had been residing within him. This portion of primordial divine thunder had already fused with his physical form. Prior absorptions had merely skimmed the surface. As this inner primordial divine thunder was fully awakened, Jiang Yuan's body became enveloped in thunder. Violet lightning ravaged everything in its vicinity. Outside the secret realm, the sky was shrouded in dark clouds, and purple thunder dragons roamed the heavens. Bolts of violet lightning rained down furiously, rendering the area around the secret realm akin to a thunderstorm. Observing from afar, the cultivators were astonished, believing a mighty figure was undergoing tribulation. Meanwhile, a silver-haired woman outside the secret realm stared in disbelief at the spectacle unfolding before her. Suddenly, she sprang to her feet and soared into the sky, drawn toward the extraordinary phenomenon. A smile of uncontrollable joy spread across her face, for if her conjecture was correct, this was the awakening of a sacred body. As for the identity of the awakened individual, she was almost certain it was Jiang Yuan, for only someone with such fortune could awaken a sacred body in the postnatal stage. It is worth noting that physiques are categorized into various ranks, from the lowest to the highest. They are spirit body, profound body, sacred body, immortal body, emperor body, and divine body. The celestial thunder phenomenon outside did not affect the secret realm. However, the cave where Jiang Yuan resided was obliterated by the released thunder from his body. Fortunately, the cave was situated within a small mountain. Otherwise, he might have awakened to find himself buried. With the successful awakening of his physique, Jiang Yuan took a deep breath, slowly opened his eyes, and felt a surge of spiritual energy more vigorous than ever before. A smile crept across his face as he accessed the personal panel of his system. Name: Jiang Yuan Cultivation. Complete third level of spirit nurturing realm physique. Awakening thunder sacred body. A thunderous sound. Instantaneous. Cultivation techniques. 1. Supreme profound technique. 10,000 thunder art. 2. Supreme profound technique. Chi concealment technique. 3. Low-grade spiritual attack technique. Thunderclap fist. The system panel provided him with a clear understanding of his current state. While cultivation could wait, Jiang Yuan's focus rested on the physique he had awakened. To his astonishment, his initial awakening revealed that his constitution was that of a sacred body, and it appeared he was particularly adept in speed. Thunder, after all, is characterized by its dual excellence in velocity and destructive power. Although he had only mastered speed for now, Jiang Yuan was immensely satisfied. He profoundly understood the adage, as long as the green hills remain, one need not fear a lack of firewood. With rapid speed at his disposal, whether pursuing foes or making a swift escape, he would undoubtedly find great efficacy. Setting aside his thoughts, Jiang Yuan stretched languidly, and with the motion, the remnants of his tattered Iraqi battle attire fell to the ground. Observing his bare form, he let out a resigned sigh. While the power of thunder was commendable, it did come at the cost of his clothing. After retrieving a fresh set from his system's inventory, he glanced at the sky and hurried towards the location where his two junior sisters were besieged. Trailing behind him was a woman, her blushing cheeks revealing the impact the earlier scene had on her. Yet, what astonished her further was the realization that he had awakened a sacred body. Perhaps it was a testament to her master's keen eye for talent that he so effortlessly discovered a genius capable of such an awakening. With this thought in mind, the woman, still mindful of her task, continued to follow Jiang Yuan discreetly. The return journey took some time. Seizing the opportunity, Jiang Yuan endeavored to activate the effects bestowed by his sacred body. He was soon enveloped by an exhilarating sensation akin to flight. To describe it would be to compare the speed of an electric motorcycle to that of a racing car. Moreover, Jiang Yuan discovered that his exploration of the sacred body's potential had only skimmed the surface. A wealth of treasures awaited his discovery. It seemed he would have much to occupy himself with in the future. Despite these reflections, the smile that graced Jiang Yuan's face could not be contained, revealing just how elated he truly felt. Embracing this buoyant spirit, he arrived at the location where his two junior sisters had been encircled by the formation. The scene before him was rife with chaotic spiritual energy and strewn debris, silently narrating the ferocity of the clash that had taken place. Chapter 14. He escapes, he pursues. It should be impossible to flee. Jiang Yuan surveyed the surroundings and noted the absence of his two junior sisters' bodies. The ground bore witness to the remains of 3 disciples from the blood demon sect, each gruesomely mutilated, suggesting the handiwork of his second junior sister, who harbored an intense vendetta against the sect. Additionally, as the system had recorded, of the 4 disciples, only one had managed to flee. Reflecting on this detail, Jiang Yuan recalled the future recorded by the system, a version of himself tormented by that madwoman, suffering a fate worse than death due to the machinations of a certain duplicitous individual who had framed him as a remnant of the blood demon sect. As for how this treachery unfolded and how others were led to believe such lies, do not inquire, for the answer could cost one their head. Regardless, Jiang Yuan vividly recalled that it was precisely due to this incident that his future self found himself ensnared in a dire predicament, rendered utterly incapacitated and expelled from the sect. It would be better if those 2 insipid senior sisters perished here. This frenzied thought abruptly surfaced in Jiang Yuan's mind, only to be swiftly suppressed. The moment was ill-suited for such notions. Should those 2 senior sisters meet their demise, he would face considerable difficulty explaining himself to his rather lenient master. Furthermore, triggering the narrative prematurely would be disastrous. Concealing his reckless thoughts, Jiang Yuan conducted another cursory search of the surroundings, only to discover several sword marks etched upon a nearby stone. They formed a succinct message: "Junior brother, if you are unharmed, hasten to leave the secret realm." Upon reading this, Jiang Yuan understood that his 2 senior sisters had reached the entrance of the secret realm, and their current condition seemed less than favorable. Although the system records indicated their successful counterattack, it failed to mention whether they had sustained any injuries. Recalling the notion of injuries, Jiang Yuan cast a glance at his own pristine and unblemished self. It felt somewhat inappropriate to return in such a pristine state, necessitating a more convincing appearance. After a brief interlude, a disheveled and dirt-streaked Jiang Yuan presented himself at the entrance of the secret realm. In a bid to create a dramatic visual impact, he delivered a few well-placed strikes upon himself, crafting superficial wounds. He limped towards the entrance, surveying the situation. The secret realm's entrance opened on the first and last days of a 7-day period, yet it was evident that numerous cultivators were already gathered in anticipation of its opening. The time until the entrance's activation appeared to be rapidly approaching. As Jiang Yuan surveyed his surroundings, he discerned 2 familiar figures in a certain area, his 2 senior sisters. Having endured an ambush, they had successfully retaliated, yet their condition appeared far from robust, their breaths labored. Nevertheless, their affiliation with the Tianwu sect afforded them a measure of security, deterring other cultivators from taking advantage of their precarious state. Thus, they enjoyed a brief respite. Jiang Yuan initially intended to approach them with a pronounced limp, but sensing it was overly contrived, he adjusted his gait to appear genuinely feeble. Stumbling closer to his senior sisters, he cleared his throat and spoke in a tone imbued with 7 parts weariness and 3 parts vulnerability. Senior sisters, it is truly a relief to see you both unharmed. His appearance immediately captured the attention of Hua Xinyun. As she steadied her breath, she opened her eyes to behold her exhausted junior brother and hurried forward to offer her support, expressing her concern. Junior brother, you are alive. That is truly wonderful. Thank you for your concern, senior sister. Fortunately, at that moment, Jiang Yuan recounted the carefully prepared narrative. In essence, he explained how he had fled, pursued, and should have found escape impossible, yet the intervention of a monstrous beast had afforded him the opportunity to evade peril. After finding a safe location to recuperate and spending some time tending to his wounds, he had made his way to them. Hua Xinyun merely listened, her mind conjuring images of the perilous situation, and gently patted her junior brother's shoulder. There is a saying that suggests those who survive great calamities are destined for future blessings. It was a relief that her junior brother was unharmed. Here, take this healing elixir. I shall guard you, she offered, presenting a pill to Jiang Yuan. He accepted it without hesitation, expressing his gratitude. Thank you, senior sister, for your concern. He then cast a glance at his second senior sister, who was seated nearby in meditation, attending to her wounds, and softly inquired, Senior sister, how is she? Rest assured, your second senior sister is also fine. She simply requires some time to recuperate. Very well, then I shall proceed to treat my wounds. Thank you for your protection, senior sister. After a brief exchange, Jiang Yuan settled upon a large stone, consumed the elixir, and feigned treatment while actually engaging in cultivation. The wounds he had inflicted upon himself would have healed completely by now had he not deliberately suppressed them. Since the awakening of his sacred body, his regenerative abilities had become remarkably apparent. As long as he had sufficient spiritual energy and time, even the most grievous injuries could be gradually mended. During Jiang Yuan's cultivation, Hua Xinyun, who had previously worn a smile, now displayed a look of concern. This anxiety stemmed from her second junior sister, Wang Miaohua. In the earlier ambush, her second junior sister had employed a secret technique that consumed her foundational energy, unleashing immense power. It was this very strength that enabled her to successfully vanquish 3 disciples of the Blood Demon sect. However, the consequence of burning her foundation had led to significant damage, which would cap her future potential. This dire realization was the source of Hua Xinyun's worry. She could only hope that her master might possess a means to restore her second junior sister's foundation. As time swiftly passed, the day of the secret realm's opening arrived. Jiang Yuan, engrossed in his cultivation, was summoned by his senior sister, and the group quickly departed the secret realm. This time, they did not linger in Qingyin City, but immediately boarded a spiritual vessel to return to Tianwu sect. Hua Xinyun believed that further delays could introduce numerous uncertainties. Jiang Yuan, however, remained indifferent, keeping his concerns at bay, though he made an effort to show occasional care. As they watched the spiritual vessel depart, the woman who had been trailing Jiang Yuan chose not to follow, but instead sought her master and recounted her observations from the journey without embellishment. Her master was none other than the silver-haired woman. Upon hearing of Jiang Yuan's actions within the secret realm, her heart brimmed with joy at his awakening of the sacred body, affirming her discerning eye. Yet, her emotions were also punctuated by confusion and curiosity, pondering what experiences Jiang Yuan had undergone that compelled him to conceal so much from his 2 senior sisters. Curiously, she pondered whether he possessed some knowledge that prompted him to refrain from getting close to his senior sister in their sect. The silver-haired woman did not hastily conclude that Jiang Yuan was a person of a cold disposition. Rather, she resolved to observe further. What could be the reason behind such behavior? Chapter 15. Preparations to be made in advance upon returning to Tianwu Gate. Hua Xinyun retrieved a jade pendant from her storage ring and crushed it. In the next moment, Jiang Wanyue appeared before her, a puzzled expression gracing her features. Disciple, what has transpired? Due to the implications concerning her junior sister's future, Hua Xinyun hurriedly spoke without the customary formalities. Master, please assist my junior sister. As she relayed the circumstances surrounding Wang Miaohua, Jiang Yuan, who stood nearby, was momentarily taken aback upon hearing about his junior sister's compromised foundation. His gaze then shifted to a more nuanced expression. He began to understand how the future schemer would ensnare his junior sister. It was through taking advantage of her vulnerabilities while feigning meticulous concern. Such a tactic proved remarkably effective against those with no promising future. At that moment, Jiang Yuan adopted the perspective of an observer. Had it not been for the presence of his master and senior sister, he might have chuckled softly and mocked the situation. Deservedly so. This thought quickly dissipated as Jiang Yuan maintained his inner tranquility, masking his face with a semblance of concern. Meanwhile, Hua Xinyun was too preoccupied with conveying the details of the incident to her master to notice the internal turmoil of her junior brother. Upon learning that the source of her second disciple's predicament was the rabble of the Blood Demon sect, the already frigid Jiang Yuan radiated an icy aura that sent shivers down spines. Each word she articulated was imbued with fury. Damn the Blood Demon sect. Do they truly believe there is no one in Tianwu Gate to stand against them? Rest assured, my disciple, I shall seek justice for you. Seeing her master's fierce protectiveness instilled Hua Xinyun with a profound sense of security. However, the pressing matter remained the future of her junior sister and whether it could be salvaged. Master, is there any hope for my junior sister's condition? Upon hearing this question, Jiang Yuan's anger momentarily subsided as she redirected her focus to her second disciple. After conducting a thorough examination, she discovered that the situation was even more dire than she had anticipated. The good news, however, was that it was not entirely hopeless. Utilizing rare heavenly materials capable of restoring one's foundation could lead to recovery and even enhancement. The unfortunate news, however, was that such precious resources were exceedingly rare and often incited turmoil across numerous states, frequently being claimed by forces of sanctified stature. While Tianwu Gate appeared to be a prestigious establishment, in reality, it lacked even a single heavenly material capable of restoring one's foundation. The ups and downs weighed heavily on Wang Miaohua's spirit, yet she soon rallied, adopting a facade of indifference. It matters not. As long as I can vanquish the minions of the Blood Demon sect, I can bear this cost, she declared. Master, senior sister, I deeply appreciate your concern. But I assure you, I am quite well. This journey has left me utterly fatigued. I must return to rest and cannot linger here. With a courteous bow, Wang Miaohua departed. As they beheld her solitary figure retreating, worry etched itself across the faces of those she left behind. Jiang Yuan, donning a mask of concern, subtly fixed his gaze upon this unassuming junior sister, pondering to himself. He recognized the pretense of indifference. He surmised that once she returned to her abode, she would undoubtedly shed tears. While he acknowledged these thoughts, he refrained from voicing much emotion, striving instead to convey an air of concern. To be candid, were Jiang Yuan alone at this moment, his heart would brim with derision and anticipation of the unfolding drama. The prospect of these three individuals meeting an untimely demise would elicit hearty laughter from him. At present, he harbored a profound bias against his so-called master and junior sisters. Though he concealed it adeptly. Return to rest. I will seek justice on your behalf. With that, Jiang Yuan transformed into a streak of light, soaring towards the peak of the sect. Once the master had departed, Jiang Yuan inclined his hands in a gesture of respect towards his junior sister and softly spoke. Senior sister, I must return to my cave to recuperate. I shall not keep you any longer. Very well, junior brother, she replied. Without a backward glance, Jiang Yuan set forth towards Tianfeng Mountain. Upon arriving at his cave, he reclined on the stone bed, feeling utterly relaxed and in good spirits. According to the system's recorded future, this was the moment when both sides' juniors would return to lament, prompting their elders to seek retribution. What had originally been a covert enmity would now be laid bare. In the ensuing month, the titanic forces of righteousness and evil would officially clash. At that juncture, both old grievances and fresh animosities would be reckoned, with chaos ensuing. However, Jiang Yuan remained unconcerned, fixated solely on the prospect of his imminent escape. Contemplating the future's normal progression, he felt that attaining freedom was merely a matter of time, and thus, his mood soared, even prompting him to hum an unfamiliar tune. After a while, he resumed his cultivation. Meanwhile, at the Blood Demon sect, as Jiang Yuan had anticipated, the news of their core disciples' demise at the hands of the Tianwu sect cultivators ignited fury among their masters. They promptly convened to confront the sect leader, demanding retribution from Tianwu sect. The leader did not dissent. Rather, he fanned the flames of the elders' rage. Before long, a series of edicts emanated from the grand hall of the sect. The disciples of the evil sect began to infiltrate the territory of the heavenly martial gate, wreaking havoc and slaying its disciples, all for the promise of substantial rewards. Among the cultivators who joined the sinister sect, few were of a merciful disposition, especially with the added incentives from their own sect. Thus, one after another, the practitioners of the dark path surged forth towards the heavenly martial gate. Naturally, such developments did not go unnoticed by the traitor lurking within the Blood Demon sect, who promptly informed the upper echelons of the heavenly martial gate. Upon learning of the Blood Demon sect's actions, they hastily devised a countermeasure. Consequently, a terrifying storm was on the horizon. However, none of this concerned Jiang Yuan. A month later, Jiang Yuan had firmly established his cultivation at the 5th level of the spirit-nurturing realm, while outwardly, His prowess appeared to have reached the 8th level of the body refining realm. His strength had now surpassed that of his inexpensive senior sister. Yet he knew that to confront his frugal master, his current cultivation was still insufficient. Nevertheless, with over half a month remaining to escape, he needed to make some preparations. Thus, Jiang Yuan left his cave dwelling and descended the mountain. During this time, the friction between the two major sects had intensified. As Jiang Yuan made his way, he observed numerous wounded disciples of the heavenly martial gate returning, their bodies emanating a fierce aura, indicating they had endured a fierce battle. After stealing a few glances, he averted his gaze and continued towards his destination. Chapter 16. Is there truly such a perfect individual in this world? At the weapon refining peak, the primary site of weapon production for the entire heavenly martial sect, the recent conflicts had led to a significant increase in the wear and tear of weapons. Consequently, the area was bustling with activity, with individuals purchasing, repairing, and customizing weapons. Jiang Yuan arrived with a clear purpose, heading directly to the section for custom weapons. The cost of a custom weapon was not something an ordinary cultivator could easily bear. Thus, few practitioners lingered here. After a brief wait, it was Jiang Yuan's turn. May I inquire what type of weapon you wish to customize, young brother? The weaponsmith was a burly man radiating a searing heat, clearly a veteran of dealing with flames. Without unnecessary preamble, Jiang Yuan articulated his request. His demand was simple. He sought a one-time use weapon, akin to a bomb capable of unleashing terrifying power. Upon hearing this, the man immediately grasped Jiang Yuan's intent. Are you seeking a treasure similar to the thunderclap device? Indeed, but one with even greater potency, ideally capable of delivering a blow equivalent to the 5th level of the spirit-nurturing realm. Certainly, such a weapon exists. However, it will require at least 20 medium-grade spirit stones. Do you see? 20 medium-grade spirit stones are equivalent to 2,000 low-grade spirit stones. For low-tier cultivators, this is a considerable expenditure. Nevertheless, for Jiang Yuan, it was merely a necessary investment. The magnitude of the fireworks that can be produced hinges entirely on the potency of this artifact. Moreover, the system has provided him with 100 mid-grade spirit stones, of which he still possesses 40, ample for this expenditure. When Jiang Yuan offered 20 mid-grade spirit stones, the man confirmed the transaction and retrieved a fist-sized black orb from his storage ring. As he handed it to Jiang Yuan, he cautioned, "Little brother, be sure to preserve this thunderous orb. A moment's carelessness could unleash a terrifying explosion." Jiang Yuan tucked the thunderous orb into his clothing, which actually meant placing it into his system backpack, and then replied, "Yes, I understand. I would never gamble with my life." After comprehending the usage of the thunderous orb, as he was about to depart, a sudden thought flickered in his mind. Given his extraordinary comprehension, could such remarkable insight be applied to forging and alchemy? The more he pondered, the more promising it seemed, prompting him to turn back and inquire of the man, "Might you possess the fundamentals of forging? I wish to purchase a copy." "Ah, indeed. It requires merely 100 low-grade spirit stones." "Very well. With that," Jiang Yuan presented the spirit stones and secured the basic forging technique before taking his leave. "You are always welcome to return, little brother." Some may wonder, shouldn't forging techniques be valued knowledge? In truth, not only forging but also alchemy, talisman crafting, and formation techniques are devoid of restrictions. Any disciple who joins the Tianwu sect may spend spirit stones to acquire these foundational skills without limitation. The sect even facilitates many conveniences to encourage its disciples to generate greater value. However, the requisite materials must still be procured by the disciples themselves. This necessity has given rise to a new industrial chain, particularly evident in the designated trading area within the Tianwu sect's plaza. Having achieved his primary objective, Jiang Yuan felt no interest in this trading area. His most crucial puzzle piece had been secured, and now he merely awaited the passage of time. Additionally, he was curious whether he possessed any innate talent for forging. If so, he could become self-sufficient without relying on others. Truth be told, Jiang Yuan was not one to seek favors or owe debts. He preferred to accomplish tasks independently. After all, depending on others for the completion of a plan introduced too much uncertainty. Upon returning to his cave dwelling, Jiang Yuan began to peruse the basic forging technique. 3 days later, he finally set it aside, striving to suppress his eager impulses. This time, his formidable insight did not disappoint. He had committed the foundational forging technique to memory in just 3 days, and from this foundation, he had derived many intriguing ideas. However, despite his eagerness, he currently lacked the materials to experiment. Thus, Jiang Yuan swiftly adjusted his state of mind and rose to leave his cave dwelling. On this journey, he aimed to acquire mastery in alchemy, talisman crafting, and array formation. By becoming a versatile cultivator, he would be able to rely solely on himself for all matters. After some time, Jiang Yuan returned to his cave, confronted by the very objectives he had set forth: foundational skills in alchemy, talisman crafting, and array formation. Additionally, he procured a more comprehensive encyclopedia, which cataloged numerous common and rare celestial treasures. With the impending time for his plans to commence, he found himself quite occupied. His endeavors were observed by the silver-haired woman, who seemed to perceive that the young lad had finally grasped the correct application of his enlightenment. However, whether in artifact forging or alchemy, attaining a high level necessitated a certain innate talent. Despite her words suggesting otherwise, the anticipation in her gaze implied a different sentiment. She hoped this young individual could offer her some delightful surprises. Half a month later, only a week remained before the impending clash between the two sections. During this fortnight, apart from the electrotherapy sessions he underwent every 5 days, Jiang Yuan concentrated most of his attention on the 4 major skills. With the aid of his formidable comprehension, he integrated these disciplines seamlessly. Armed with this fundamental knowledge and sufficient materials, Jiang Yuan was confident he could craft spiritual-grade artifacts, talismans, or elixirs. In this realm, artifact smiths, talisman masters, alchemists, and array masters are categorized into levels of proficiency, ranging from low to high: mortal, spiritual, profound, sacred, celestial, imperial, and divine, with further distinctions of inferior, medium, superior, and exquisite grades. This was merely due to his exposure to the basics. Had he access to more advanced knowledge, his growth would transcend the constraints of time and innate talent. Unfortunately, to attain higher-level knowledge, he would need to join one of the 4 peaks within the sect. Given the dwindling time, it was no longer feasible for him to pursue such an endeavor. Thus, he quickly dismissed the thought. Recognizing that such a decision would attract undue attention, he resolved to leave Tianwu Gate and, on his journey to the Nine Thunder Sacred Land, seek opportunities to acquire knowledge in this area. Setting aside these thoughts, Jiang Yuan stretched, unencumbered by the desire for rest, and continued to immerse himself in cultivation. Observing him throughout this half-month, the silver-haired woman felt somewhat numb. Could there truly exist a person so perfect in this world? Chapter 17. The Dog of Flattery meets a grim fate. Beyond artifact forging, he had utterly mastered the fundamentals of alchemy, talisman crafting, and array formation with apparent ease, showing no signs of struggle. Frankly speaking, the value Jiang Yuan was now displaying was sufficient to reach the critical point in the silver-haired woman's heart. At all costs, she vowed to bring this little one back to the sacred land. Whoever dared to intervene would find their hands severed. With her cultivation having reached the realm of ascendance, she possessed the capability to execute such threats. However, as she contemplated her plans, the silver-haired woman repressed her inner excitement, her gaze fixated intently on Jiang Yuan below. In the cavern beneath, Jiang Yuan remained oblivious to the watchful eyes of the mysterious elder. He was engrossed in observing the thunderous child within his system backpack. Having grasped the fundamentals of artifact forging, his mind was brimming with imaginative ideas. Glancing at the remaining spirit stones, he concluded that they would suffice for his upcoming endeavors. With this thought in mind, Jiang Yuan departed the cave once more, making his way swiftly down the mountain. The journey was uneventful. Yet he noted an increasing number of injured disciples, some even missing limbs. The faces of these disciples bore unmistakable expressions of anger and resentment, suggesting that the impending clash between the two sects might occur sooner than anticipated. Through his recent experiences in the secret realm, he had learned that the System's records were merely a reference and not to be wholly trusted. Thus, it was imperative for him to expedite the realization of his plans. Upon reaching the trading area, he noticed that the cultivators, sensing the approaching storm of opportunity, had raised their prices. What was once a procurement of 5 mid-grade spirit stones for materials now required Jiang Yuan to part with an additional 3. Yet, spirit stones could be earned again, while life was singular and precious. Before departing, he acquired several other materials, eager to practice for the first time. Returning to his cavern, now devoid of wealth, he began to reflect on his mental calculations, starting with the simplest tasks. Artifact forging was not limited to the brute force of hammering. There existed a method known as refinement. Taking a deep breath, Jiang Yuan summoned his spiritual energy to envelop the materials on the ground. Under the influence of his substantial spiritual force, the materials began to undergo visible transformations. The artifact he was crafting was a disposable one, designed to create a shield capable of withstanding an attack from a 9th-level body refinement cultivator. The refinement process consumed both spiritual energy and concentration. Yet thanks to Jiang Yuan's solid foundation, the entire endeavor proceeded smoothly. After a while, a piece of armor inscribed with enigmatic runes materialized before him. Upon completing this task, he opened his eyes and extended his hand to grasp the armor, assessing its quality. The heart shield had achieved a mid-grade status among mortal artifacts, capable of withstanding a full-force strike from a 9th-level body refinement practitioner. While this grade was not his ultimate potential, it represented the limits of the materials at hand. After all, he could not conjure miracles from the mundane, crafting a spirit-level artifact from mere commonplace materials. For the time that followed, Jiang Yuan proceeded to forge additional heart shields from the remaining materials. At present, he feels an intense surge of inspiration. It is time to refine the Thunder Resonator. 3 days have swiftly passed. Jiang Yuan gazes with fervor at the optimized Thunder Resonator in his hands. After his meticulous adjustments, this device now possesses the formidable power equivalent to a full-force strike from a 9th-level spirit cultivation realm practitioner. In truth, he could have completed it within a single day. However, perhaps to conceal the intricate designs within the Thunder Resonator, a secret formation was embedded within. A careless misstep could trigger its self-destruction. Fortunately, thanks to his innate talent for formations, he managed to dispel it in just 2 days, unveiling the inner workings completely. With this enhanced Thunder Resonator, Jiang Yuan can vividly envision the explosive beauty of art. While lost in such thoughts, a series of resounding bell chimes echoed throughout the Tianwu sect. The bells tolled 9 times before falling silent. However, the implications of this sound stirred Jiang Yuan to rise from his stone bed with excitement. The 9 chimes signified that the sect was about to face a grave calamity, the only one he could foresee being an official declaration of war against the Blood Demon sect. Furthermore, any disciple who heard the 9 bells, unless in seclusion, was required to assemble at the sect's plaza. Thus, Jiang Yuan hastened from his cavern dwelling toward the plaza. Along the way, he noticed many figures and flashes of light, all racing toward the same destination. Among them was his junior sister, who, in contrast to their last encounter, appeared quite haggard and disheartened. It seemed she was not as carefree as she had previously claimed. The damage to her foundation evidently weighed heavily upon her spirit. Yet, recalling the system records, Jiang Yuan remembered that this junior sister would eventually acquire rare treasures capable of restoring her foundational strength. Who could have provided such a boon? Naturally, it would be him, the ultimate devoted admirer. Upon this realization, a flicker of irritation crossed Jiang Yuan's lips, his heart simmering with indignation. Such a devoted admirer deserves no mercy, he thought. Nevertheless, the prospect of obtaining rare treasures capable of restoring foundations was indeed a precious opportunity. It appeared that he could seek out these treasures in the future, whether for his own use or to exchange for necessities. With this thought, his anger subsided significantly. While the future recorded by the system certainly stirred a whirlwind of emotions, it also detailed the specific locations of many valuable treasures. In due time, he would gather them all. Unbeknownst to him, Jiang Yuan arrived at the plaza alongside the other disciples. It was a sea of people, with the leaders of each peak and the sect master already seated upon elevated platforms. As the disciples gathered, the sect master rose, gazing down upon them with an air of authority, and spoke softly. "Esteemed disciples of the heavenly martial sect, I must convey to you some disheartening news. The wretched minions of the Blood Demon sect have declared war upon us. This revelation should come as no surprise, for the frictions between our sect and the Blood Demon sect have been glaringly apparent of late. Therefore, I shall impart but one crucial piece of information. Slaying the scoundrels of the Blood Demon sect will earn you points. With sufficient points accrued, you may even select a precious treasure from our sect's treasury, without limit." As soon as these words left my lips, the disciples of the heavenly martial sect erupted with fervor, shouting and roaring in unison, vowing to eradicate every last one of the Blood Demon sect's minions. Chapter 18. Be silent, you wench. Do not impede my path to freedom. Amidst the throng, Jiang Yuan's countenance reflected excitement, albeit a sentiment that felt discordant among the surrounding fervor. His exhilaration stemmed from the proximity of freedom. Once the sect leader concluded, the disciples promptly formed small teams and set forth towards the front lines. In the initial stages of war, elder-level combatants would not easily engage. Typically, it was the disciples who first ventured into the battlefield to hone their skills and clash with the enemy. Having adjusted his outward strength to the 8th level of body refinement, Jiang Yuan wasted no time in seeking out his lenient master to express his desire to contribute to the heavenly martial sect. Upon witnessing her disciple, whose cultivation had reached the 8th level of body refinement, Jiang Yuan hesitated momentarily, but ultimately did not refuse. Instead, she nodded in agreement. "You may proceed, but only on the condition that you remain with your senior sister." This disciple, having achieved his current level of cultivation in just over half a year, could indeed be regarded as a genius. Not wishing to see her disciple meet a tragic fate, she chose to allow him to accompany his senior sister, who possessed the strength of the spirit cultivation realm. This arrangement would at least afford him a measure of safety. Is the senior sister also going? Jiang Yuan inquired, his face betraying surprise. It was well known that during the chaotic early stages of battle, core disciples seldom participated. Typically, it was merely inner disciples who engaged in such fray, as core disciples were vital to the sect's prosperity and must not fall carelessly. In pondering these matters, Jiang Yuan overlooked a vital truth. He was also a genius. However, in his perception, geniuses were not rare. What was rare was the survival and growth of such talents. He simply wished to traverse the path of cultivation further. Yes, your senior sister will accompany you. However, she will not engage directly at the front lines. She may only participate when the opposing side deploys their core disciples. Thus, you must not stray too far from her side. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan felt a sigh of relief within. As long as he was not required to remain in constant proximity to his senior sister, he could manage without excessive effort. Very well, master. I shall take care to protect myself. Good. Depart with your senior sister tomorrow. Jiang Yuan understood that relentless protection was futile. A mighty eagle must eventually spread its wings and soar through the skies. Without enduring hardships, how could one venture further along the path of cultivation? Baiyun City now stood as one of the front lines in the fierce battle against the blood demon sect. As celestial beings clashed, it was the ordinary mortals who suffered the consequences. Consequently, the common folk had long since fled the city, leaving only the disciples of Tianwu sect and a few rogue cultivators who had joined for the promise of rewards for vanquishing foes. When Jiang Yuan and his frugal senior sister arrived, the atmosphere was already electric with fervor. The disciples of Tianwu sect were passionately forming teams, preparing to march beyond the city gates. Truth be told, all Jiang Yuan desired was to join a group and confront the blood demon sect with fervor. However, just as he was about to act on this impulse, his senior sister intervened, expressing her concerns earnestly. Junior brother, this is a war between two sects, and its peril exceeds that of previous trials. You must prioritize your safety and flee if you encounter an overpowering enemy. In response to her concern, Jiang Yuan smiled reassuringly. I will take care of myself, senior sister. You need not worry. Yet internally, he thought, silence, woman. Do not hinder my pursuit of freedom and a brighter tomorrow. At that moment, he felt a thrill of excitement, an emotion that Hua Xinyun could only sense as exuberance stemming from his first encounter with such a situation. After offering a few more words of caution, she reluctantly allowed Jiang Yuan to venture forth. Upon entering the city, Jiang Yuan noticed glances directed his way. Curiosity evidently piqued as to why a junior disciple had suddenly appeared beside Hua Xinyun. After all, they had not attempted to conceal their arrival. Ignoring the inquisitive stares, Jiang Yuan approached the task panel, searching for a mission that would facilitate a strategic retreat. Before long, he discovered a task that met his criteria, an assault on a temporary stronghold of the blood demon sect, requiring participants to be at least at the 5th layer of body refining and to comprise a team of 5 or more. Just as he was about to raise his voice in search of fellow cultivators with a similar intent, he felt a tap on his shoulder and heard a male voice from behind. Young brother, are you also interested in this task? Upon turning, Jiang Yuan found himself face to face with several cultivators not clad in Tianwu sect attire, all smiling warmly in his direction. Their cultivation levels appeared to be below the spirit cultivation stage, indicating they were likely a group of rogue cultivators. Perfect. This nameless team suited him splendidly. Thus, Jiang Yuan responded with equal friendliness. So, you are also looking to undertake this task? Indeed. Would you care to join our team, young brother? They replied with enthusiasm. Upon witnessing the scene, Jiang Yuan nodded in acknowledgement and then unleashed his apparent strength at the 8th level of the body refinement realm. Indeed, he affirmed. With their brief exchange concluded, Jiang Yuan proceeded to register with several scattered cultivators, receiving a jade token in return. This token would allow them to report back here and receive points upon the completion of their tasks. Let us hasten, young brother. We shall return swiftly. Very well. Jiang Yuan replied with a slight nod, following the small team out of the city. In the vast expanse above, everything Jiang Yuan did fell under the watchful gaze of the silver-haired woman. She could discern that something significant was likely to unfold, which had stirred such excitement within this young fellow. Yet, what precisely would transpire remained a mystery, fueling her curiosity further. She sensed that the young man harbored a clear objective in his heart, striving diligently towards it. Perhaps in the coming days, she would uncover the nature of this goal. With such intrigue, the silver-haired woman continued her covert observation. Situated within the battleground of two formidable sects, the area posed a high likelihood of encountering disciples from the blood demon sect. To minimize unnecessary exhaustion, Jiang Yuan and his companions chose to evade confrontations, skillfully navigating their way through. After 2 days of evasive maneuvers and winding paths, they finally arrived at their target location, a temporary outpost of the blood demon sect. According to the mission report, The outpost was manned solely by body refinement realm practitioners, the strongest among them being at the 8th level, while the rest were mere low-level cultivators. For Jiang Yuan and his team, a well-executed ambush could lead to a swift and injury-free success. Chapter 19. Farewell to my past self. Greetings to my future self, sensing the aura emanating from within the Blood Demon Sect's temporary outpost. The scattered cultivators accompanying Jiang Yuan displayed expressions of delight, believing that this mission would be easily accomplished. However, as one of the involved parties, Jiang Yuan perceived an unusual presence. Having practiced the concealment technique, he was particularly sensitive to such energies and detected the presence of a formidable being at the spirit cultivation realm within the outpost. Realizing this, a faint smile crept upon his lips as an intriguing plan swiftly formed in his mind. Freedom was tantalizingly close, however. He chided himself to refrain from smiling until their escape was secured. Suppressing his inner excitement, Jiang Yuan addressed the scattered cultivator beside him. There is no time to lose. We must act quickly, lest circumstances change. Indeed, you speak wisely, young brother. Await my signal, the leading scattered cultivator replied, nodding before orchestrating the upcoming ambush. Soon after, the team formed a surrounding perimeter around the temporary outpost, cautiously closing in. Once in position, the leading cultivator suddenly called out, "Now?" As the command echoed, Jiang Yuan joined the scattered cultivators in launching their ambush. He concealed his true cultivation level, yet his strike was swift and lethal, claiming the life of a malevolent disciple from the Blood Demon sect. In his heart, he sensed that the hidden cultivator from the spirit-nurturing realm was about to make a move, just as he anticipated. When their group stormed into the temporary stronghold with a bloodbath, a terrifying aura that sent shivers down the spines of the scattered cultivators emerged, accompanied by a sinister voice. "Hee, since you've come, you shall not leave this place." Feeling the oppressive presence of the spirit-nurturing realm, the leader of the scattered cultivators paled and quickly shouted a warning, "Run." There's an ambush. The other scattered cultivators, roused by his urgent call, hastily fled towards the exit of the stronghold without looking back. Observing this, Jiang Yuan realized that the opportunity he had been waiting for had arrived. Resolutely, he positioned himself in front of the malevolent disciples of the Blood Demon sect and declared with righteous fervor, "You all go. I will buy you time." His words resonated in the ears of the scattered cultivators like a heavenly melody. The leader of the scattered cultivators exclaimed with excitement, "Thank you, young brother, for your life-saving grace. If we manage to escape, we shall surely spread word of your heroic deeds." However, despite their expressions of gratitude, the scattered cultivators wished they could sprout extra legs to flee faster. The malevolent cultivators of the spirit-nurturing realm looked at Jiang Yuan, who stood defiantly before them. With confusion, his expression was peculiar. He appeared on the verge of laughter while making a conspicuous effort to suppress it. What was he laughing about? What was so amusing? The evil cultivators could not comprehend this, but they knew that a mere practitioner at the 8th stage of body refinement could be crushed with a single finger. "Hee. Do you think you can stop us for long?" Jiang Yuan remained silent, quietly retrieving his modified thunder bomb from his system backpack. With a smile that unnerved the Blood Demon sect disciples, he appeared more sinister than they did. "Wait a moment. Aren't they the evil cultivators? Why does this upright individual seem even more villainous?" Jiang Yuan, still without uttering a word, unhesitatingly revealed his true cultivation level. In an instant, he stood before the evil cultivators and smiled as he proclaimed, "Art is." Explosion. As his words resonated, he activated the thunder bomb without hesitation. In that critical moment, the leader of the evil cultivators could only utter a single word as his dying breath, "Lie down." The next instant, a terrifying white light engulfed the surroundings, ravenously consuming everything within its reach. At that moment, a token flew out from the white light, shooting toward the direction the scattered cultivators had fled, landing steadily before their leader. This fearsome explosion compelled the leader of the scattered cultivators to halt, turning back only to be blinded by the overwhelming whiteness. He picked up the tattered token that represented the status of an inner sect disciple. Overcome with emotion, he felt that this young brother was truly a good person. He was determined to bring back the token that proved his past existence to the people of the Tianwu sect. With this thought in mind, the wandering cultivator once again set forth, fleeing into the distance. Meanwhile, a silver-haired woman in the heavens gazed curiously at the area engulfed in an explosion. Just moments ago, she had intended to intervene and save Jiang Yuan, but she felt him enveloped by a mysterious force, only to vanish from sight, beyond her perceptive reach. Nevertheless, she sensed that the token she had placed upon him remained intact, indicating that he was unharmed. Yet, why had this young man feigned death to escape? Was this pretense his ultimate goal during this time? The silver-haired woman found herself perplexed, ultimately relinquishing her thoughts. Since clarity eluded her, She resolved to inquire about it when the time came to accept him as her disciple. With her mind focused, she sensed the vague direction of the token and began her search accordingly. Meanwhile, at a valley situated 1,000,000 miles from the explosion site, a figure materialized seemingly out of thin air. It was Jiang Yuan, having utilized a teleportation talisman. As he beheld the fragrant and melodious surroundings, he took a deep breath, raised his arms, and exclaimed with exhilaration, "Ha! I am free at last. Finally escaped from that foolish Tianwu sect. Freedom! Freedom! Ha ha!" Jiang Yuan unleashed the pent-up pressure accumulated over the past 6 months, his laughter mingling with tears streaming down his cheeks. It was evident how much strain had built up within him upon realizing the grim future that awaited him, not to mention the nauseating need to fawn over the murderous fiends around him. Yet, all that was in the past. A brand new future awaited him. "Farewell to my past self, greetings to my future self," he murmured to himself, unable to suppress the smile on his face. However, just as he was reveling in his excitement, an incongruous voice pierced the atmosphere. "Human, are you here to kill me?" The voice belonged to a feeble woman. Upon hearing it, Jiang Yuan caught the scent of blood in the air. Following the trail of the scent, he spotted a figure lying not far away. Peering closely, he discerned that it was a woman, and notably, one adorned with 9 foxtails. May all readers find the opportunity and courage to start anew. Chapter 20. Indeed, the desire of a dedicated eater to indulge is fervent. The woman with 9 foxtails appeared quite disheveled, her wounds severe. Yet they could not conceal her breathtaking beauty and her extraordinarily perfect figure. Especially due to her present disheveled state, the pristine whites were all the more elusive, while the pink fox ears quivered enticingly, capturing the eye. However, Jiang Yuan remained oblivious to her plight, brusquely retorting, "Silence, woman. Do not disturb my current excitement and joy. I have no interest in you. In due time, I shall depart from this place, and then you may do as you please." These 2 statements struck the fox girl like slaps across her face, leaving her momentarily dazed and unresponsive. After a brief interval, she regained her composure, gazing at Jiang Yuan with a perplexed expression, weakly voicing, "Aren't you sent to kill me?" "No," Jiang Yuan replied curtly, his gaze never lingering on her once he ascertained her lack of threat. His attention was predominantly focused on discerning his current location and the considerable distance from his destination. The 9 Thunders sacred ground. Once confirmed, he could chart a course and endeavor to seize the opportunities that lingered in his memory. Moreover, he needed to address the stigma of being a traitor to his sect. He recalled the elder from the sacred ground, who gifted him the jade pendant. Thinking that perhaps he could seek admission under that elder's tutelage and later find a moment to clarify his circumstances. He certainly would not disclose the existence of the system, but would resort to an alternative method to elucidate the reasons. Observing the human's indifferent demeanor, the fox girl began to doubt her own allure for the first time. Surely her appearance was not lacking, especially when in the presence of other humans. Their gazes seemed to yearn to linger upon her. However, Jiang Yuan's disregard alleviated her concern somewhat. She was currently grievously injured, with her foundation compromised, capable of exerting only a fraction of her full strength. If she were to face this enigmatic, yet evidently formidable human, she would be left with no choice but to await her demise. Jiang Yuan remained unaware of the turmoil within the fox girl. He lifted his gaze to the sky, noting that dusk was approaching. A glance around the valley confirmed that he would not be able to leave this place in a matter of days. After all, he had yet to attain the god-forming realm and could not soar through the skies, relying solely on his own strength. Given the circumstances, it was best to eat first. The thought of having spent half a year on fasting pills for the sake of diligent cultivation pained him. Although the fasting pills allowed him to forego sustenance for extended periods, his palate was now yearning for flavor. "No, today I must indulge in meat, as a celebration of my newfound freedom." With this resolve, Jiang Yuan set about searching the valley for edible creatures. Time swiftly elapsed, the stars and moon illuminated the night, and wisps of smoke rose in the valley. The absence of demon beasts meant only ordinary wildlife inhabited this locale. And thus a deer became Jiang Yuan's dinner for the evening. In his haste, he had no seasonings, and could only savor the unadulterated essence of the meat. Yet, Jiang Yuan remained unperturbed, for the wild fauna of this realm differed vastly from that of his previous life. Even the ordinary beasts, yet to metamorphose into demonic creatures, unconsciously absorbed spiritual energy. Thus, even in the absence of seasonings, the flavor of the cooked meat would still be delightful. As the deer was roasted to perfection, Jiang Yuan eagerly seized a deer leg and began to gnaw on it with unabashed fervor, entirely oblivious to the presence of a fox maiden nearby. His gluttonous demeanor, reminiscent of a famished soul reborn, elicited an involuntary swallow from the fox maiden, who had previously felt no hunger. Her frail body protested, craving sufficient energy to restore itself. With her storage ring shattered, she found herself destitute, possessing nothing but a broken form. After much hesitation, the fox maiden tentatively spoke. "Human, could you spare me some roasted deer meat? I shall remember this kindness." Her soft voice, devoid of enchanting powers, nevertheless exuded an inherent allure. Any ordinary male cultivator, upon hearing her words, might have rushed to curry favor, hoping to win her affection. However, she encountered Jiang Yuan, whose resolve to ascend to immortality was unwavering. He turned to her, confusion evident in his voice. "Why are you still here?" The fox maiden was taken aback by his words. Rendered speechless as a wave of grievance surged within her, tears welling in her eyes. Though she did not weep aloud, the slight tremor of her delicate frame betrayed her turmoil. Not long ago, she had been the fox queen, a being exalted above all others. Yet now she found herself defeated by a new fox king and reduced to a precarious existence. Particularly painful was the fact that she was overlooked and ridiculed by this seemingly insignificant human whom she had often disregarded. The formidable strength that once bolstered her confidence had crumbled, laying bare her vulnerability. Ultimately, unable to restrain herself, the fox maiden broke down, sobbing like a small child. Great tears cascaded from the corners of her eyes, evoking profound pity. The sudden shift left Jiang Yuan momentarily frozen, his mouth agape. Turning to see the weeping fox maiden, he furrowed his brow. "Why are you crying? Is it due to hunger?" After confirming that the system did not classify her as a potential target for pursuit, he slowly uttered, "All right, come here. Eat as much as you wish." Yet, the fox maiden continued to weep, entirely unresponsive to his offer. To be frank, Jiang Yuan found her cries irksome. He had heard enough. Consequently, with a scowl, he rose and approached her, a deer leg in hand. The fox maiden, engulfed in her sorrow, paid him no mind, feeling as though succumbing to despair might be a preferable fate. Before she could delve deeper into her sorrow, a tantalizing aroma of meat wafted towards her, effectively stifling her weeping. Accompanying this olfactory delight was a human voice. "Ladies, quiet. Just eat your meat." The insatiable hunger for energy compelled the fox girl to uncontrollably devour the food before her. An inclination to transform her grief into appetite prompted her to swiftly consume an entire leg of deer. Then, with a longing gaze, she looked up at Jiang Yuan, her expression pitifully conveying, "I am still hungry." Jiang Yuan, motivated solely by his own desires, harbored no thoughts of protecting his meal. He merely shot a disgruntled glance at the fox girl and remarked, "All right, I am full now. All of that is yours." Upon hearing this, the fox girl's eyes sparkled with delight, and without hesitation, she sprang to her feet. Despite her earlier weakness, she moved with remarkable agility. Indeed, the will of a person driven by hunger is formidable. As she feasted, she expressed her gratitude, saying, "Human, you are a good person. Thank you. I, Fox Jiu will remember this kindness." Chapter 21. The beauty of this face is one of Jiang Yuan's sources of pride confronted with this freshly minted good person card. Jiang Yuan chose to ignore it. He sat silently by the fire, contemplating his forthcoming journey. With the enhancement of his sacred body to speed, he should be able to leave this valley within a day. Once he departed from the valley, he would seek out a town to ascertain his location. If he found himself relatively closer to his destination, he could afford to set aside other opportunities. However, the celestial materials capable of restoring his foundation must be acquired without delay. It is known that once such items are revealed, they can incite turmoil across dozens of states, with countless cultivators vying for them, highlighting their immense value. Thus, even if it meant postponing his journey to the Nine Thunder Sacred Land, he was determined to secure such extraordinary treasures. Having mapped out his next steps, Jiang Yuan cast a glance at the fox girl, who had polished off the entire deer and was now gently caressing her full belly, a look of contentment gracing her features. He remained oblivious to her identity and had little interest in uncovering her past. Maintaining a degree of vigilance, he moved aside and entered a meditative state to cultivate. Although he had escaped that infernal cave, the need to enhance his strength through cultivation remained imperative. This was due to an unresolved concern, aside from the Tianwu sect. Were there other places influenced by foolish narratives of regret and cultivation? Or perhaps other sects, such as those that embody the husband-chasing funeral or the regretful death schools? Or even the White Moonlight sect, among others? One could only say that in his previous life, he was quite the glutton, idly indulging in such abstract writings. Yet, who could have anticipated that this reading experience would prove useful at this juncture? Truly, the caprices of fate are unpredictable, much like the intertwining of large intestines with small ones. At this moment, having satiated her hunger, Hu Jiu discreetly observed the human seated opposite her. She discovered that he was engrossed in a meditative state, showing not the slightest interest in her presence. A wave of conflicting emotions surged within her, relief and frustration intertwined. The relief stemmed from the assurance that he would not succumb to primal instincts while she was defenseless. Conversely, the frustration arose from the fact that she, once the most exquisite of the fox tribe, elicited no interest from him at all. These two emotions clashed within her, leaving her in a tumultuous state of mind. However, Hu Jiuge chose not to dwell on it. The weariness accumulated in her body overwhelmed her, and soon she succumbed to sleep, sprawled unceremoniously on the ground. A tranquil silence enveloped the valley, punctuated only by the chirping of insects and the faint crackle of the campfire. As the night wore on, the temperature in the valley plummeted to freezing point. Severely injured and devoid of any spiritual power, Hu Jiuge trembled in the cold. Even her 9 fluffy tails failed to provide warmth. This chill, however, did not affect Jiang Yuan, who was drawn to her unconscious murmur. "Brr, it's so cold." Jiang Yuan opened his eyes to behold a fluffy figure across from him. After a brief moment of silence, he retrieved a long robe from his system's backpack, designed for inner disciples of the Tianwu sect. Removing the sect's distinctive marks and patterns, he was left with a plain white robe. With a casual flick, he draped the robe over Hu Jiuge. The robe, imbued with a small enchantment, lacked any defensive properties but was adept at retaining warmth and dispelling heat. As the garment settled over her, a wave of warmth enveloped her, and the frown that had knitted her brows relaxed, her face revealing a look of contentment. Having completed this act of kindness, Jiang Yuan resumed his meditation. The following morning, as the first rays of sunlight kissed Jiang Yuan's face, he slowly opened his eyes. The forest scenery before him momentarily astonished him until the realization struck that he had successfully escaped from the Tianwu sect. This thought brightened his mood. A beautiful day begins with a positive spirit. Just then, he noticed movement from the fluffy figure covered by the robe. Hu Jiuge stirred, her sleep-induced haze lifting as she stretched, revealing her flawless physique, before languidly speaking to herself. I slept so well. It's been ages since I've rested this soundly. Where did this robe come from?" Gazing at the garment draped over her, Hu Jiuge found herself momentarily perplexed. But as she embraced the warmth radiating from the robe, memories of the comforting sensation she experienced last night flooded back. So, it was this robe that had brought her warmth. The identity of the owner of the long garment was evident, bringing warmth to the heart of Fox Jiuge. She turned her beautiful gaze towards Jiang Yuan and expressed her gratitude, saying, "Thank you for your clothing." Jiang Yuan offered a slight nod, refraining from further words, and accepted the long garment from her hands. He had no intention of retaining the attire of the Tianwu sect disciples. Having chosen a new path, it was essential to rid himself of the remnants of past hindrances. With this thought in mind, Jiang Yuan walked behind a large stone nearby, under the curious gaze of Fox Jiuge, to change into the long garment he had brought along. Before long, a dashing young gentleman emerged. The attire of the Tianwu sect disciples was rather ordinary, a simple black and white combination. Yet, with Jiang Yuan's striking appearance, he exuded a unique charm even in such plain clothing. Now, adorned in garments that suited him perfectly, and with his long, dark hair bound with a ribbon, he stepped out from behind the stone. Fox Jiuge, who had been attentively watching, was immediately struck by his beauty, causing her breath to hitch momentarily. What a handsome young man, she thought. Was it possible for a human to possess such looks? At that moment, Jiang Yuan was dancing in harmony with her aesthetic sensibilities, leaving her somewhat entranced, her cheeks tinged with a faint blush. Jiang Yuan had long grown accustomed to such fervent gazes. Back in his homeland, he had already earned the title of a handsome man. After undergoing a transformation of soul and spirit, his beauty had increased exponentially. During his time in the Tianwu sect, had he not kept a low profile, it would not have taken long for his visage to grace the minds of every senior sister and junior sister. Having been granted a second life, this face was one of the assets he could take pride in. It is worth mentioning that this very face was also a contributing factor to the misfortunes he would face in the future, as well as the reason for the relentless schemes of that spiteful green tea BTCH against him, out of jealousy. Jealousy of his looks, his insight, his brilliance, and his elevated status. Chuckling to himself, Jiang Yuan resolved to devise a plan to eliminate this annoyance. As his thoughts brewed with increasing intensity, his expression remained remarkably calm. In Chapter 22, he found a fondness for the honesty of the other party. Jiang Yuan had already mapped out his intentions in his mind. Once he acquired sufficient strength, he would surely seek retribution. Naturally, he could not reveal his true identity. He had decided that he would approach as a remnant of the Blood Demon sect. Since the future would see him slandered as a remnant of the Blood Demon sect, and those individuals firmly believed it, he would fulfill their wishes and become what they claimed, ensuring a complete circle of resolution. Regardless of the fervent tumults of his thoughts, Jiang Yuan's countenance remained serene. He, suppressing his thoughts, approached Hu Jiuge and handed her another long robe, explaining, I have woven a small warmth-preserving array into this garment, and now it is yours. These minor enchantments had become second nature to Jiang Yuan, effortlessly completed in just a few steps. As Hu Jiugu accepted the robe, an indescribable emotion surged within her. Yet she still expressed her gratitude, saying, "Thank you, human. You truly are a good person." Receiving yet another label of good person, Jiang Yuan continued to ignore it, responding with a calm demeanor, "No need for thanks. We shall meet again, should fate allow." With that, he turned and walked away without a hint of reluctance. Just as he intended to employ the innate abilities of his sacred body, a voice called out from behind, "Human, could you possibly take me along?" At this, Jiang Yuan hesitated momentarily, but did not come to a halt. Instead, he merely slowed his pace. Observing this, Hu Jiugu hurriedly introduced herself. "Do not be deceived by my current frailty. In my prime, I was a being of the flying immortal realm. If you can protect me during my recovery, I am willing to heed your instructions for 3 tasks. However," she added shyly, her voice lowering significantly, "these tasks must remain within my abilities, adhere to moral principles, and cannot involve using my body as payment." This marked the first time she had uttered such embarrassing words, yet she eagerly gazed at the human not far away. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan had halted, weighing the pros and cons in his mind. He was taken aback to learn that this seemingly delicate fox maiden had once reached the pinnacle of the flying immortal realm. It was well known that a being of such caliber could traverse the entire state with ease, even dominating the eastern regions. However, he pondered what calamity could have befallen a flying immortal to reduce her to such a state. He needed to ascertain the details, for the conflicts among beings of the flying immortal realm were far beyond the capabilities of a mere spirit cultivator like himself. This represented a vast chasm between realms. Thus, Jiang Yuan turned back, his expression grave as he posed his inquiries. "I have 2 questions. First, what has brought you to this pitiable state? Are you being pursued by enemies, or is it something else?" Upon hearing this, Hu Jiugu recalled the events of several days prior, a hint of bitterness clouding her beautiful features. After a moment, she softly replied, "There are no enemies pursuing me. It is simply the law of survival, the victor and the vanquished. I have merely lost." This statement conveyed much, prompting Jiang Yuan to quickly deduce the underlying truths. In his 2 lifetimes, before embarking on the path of cultivation, he had always relished acquiring knowledge about the world around him. He possessed a fair understanding of the demon clans in the southern domain, particularly exemplified by Hu Jiugu of the Fox tribe. Within the Fox clan, the number of tails a fox possesses determines its strength, stature, and status. In the records that Jiang Yuan came across, there was only one Fox clan possessing 9 tails. "Are you the former Fox King?" "Yes, indeed." The mention of the title former Fox King elicited a faint lament from Hu Jiugu. Yet she obediently nodded in affirmation of his conjecture. With this confirmation, Jiang Yuan's mind began to stir with possibilities. Although Hu Jiugu's current powers were significantly diminished, as a once formidable figure in the Ascendant realm, she was a treasure trove of knowledge. Her insights into each realm, along with her formidable techniques, were invaluable. Most importantly, as a former powerhouse, if she could restore her strength, she would become a substantial ally, a protective shield until his own growth was realized. It was also noteworthy that Hu Jiugu was not classified by the system as a target for conquest, implying she would not pose significant challenges. After weighing these thoughts internally, Jiang Yuan felt increasingly intrigued, though one final question remained. "I understand. Now for the second question. What is your current physical condition? Is it possible for you to regain your former strength?" Upon hearing this query, Hu Jiugu did not conceal the truth, candidly revealing her state. "I am severely injured, with my dantian on the verge of collapse. However, these are minor issues that can be remedied with time. The real concern lies in the damage to my foundation, which hinders any further recovery of my powers. At my current state, I can only restore my strength to the god-sculpting realm, beyond which I cannot progress." Hu Jiugu's frankness prompted a silent nod from Jiang Yuan. "So, if your foundation is repaired, you could regain your powers to the Ascendant realm?" "That is correct. But acquiring materials of such caliber is no simple feat," she sighed, her spirits visibly dampened. Noticing her change in demeanor, Jiang Yuan's gaze subtly shifted before he redirected the conversation. "Very well, I agree to accompany you. But first, you must swear an oath to the heavenly Tao. In addition to your previous commitment, you must also vow not to harm me in any form. In this world of cultivation, where the heavenly Tao is a tangible force, such an oath serves as a steadfast agreement. Anyone daring to breach this vow would face dire consequences, as the fearsome 9 heavens thunder tribulation would pursue them relentlessly. Thus, oaths to the heavenly Tao are not made lightly." After a moment of silence, Hu Jiugu nodded, agreeing to the oath, which mirrored her earlier commitment. Once she uttered the vow, Hu Jiuge felt an intangible binding upon her. Should she harm the human before her, terrifying retribution would ensue. Upon hearing her oath, a subtle smile finally graced Jiang Yuan's calm features. He then stepped closer to Hu Jiuge and began to introduce himself. My name is Jiang Yuan, an ordinary cultivator. In response to the friendly demeanor of the other, Hu Jiuge stood up and smiled back warmly. Hu Jiuge, a rather attractive fox, accompanied Jiang Yuan. Chapter 23, Tianfu Chamber of Commerce, Honglei City. After spending 2 days, Jiang Yuan departed the valley with Hu Jiuge, journeying to the nearest city in search of information. He soon learned that a 7-day spiritual vessel would take them to the nearest city of the Jiulei sacred ground. This was indeed a welcome piece of news. However, the unfortunate reality was that he lacked sufficient spirit stones to board the vessel. The week-long journey would cost him at least 50 medium-grade spirit stones. Not accounting for Hu Jiuge, who had transformed into a pink fox, now wrapped around his neck as a scarf. Otherwise, the expenses would increase further. Without the vessel, the journey would take at least 2 months, which seemed utterly unnecessary. Moreover, he had confirmed that the only opportunity he sought was a relatively close one, the rare materials capable of restoring his foundation. According to the System's records, these precious materials were located within a second-tier secret realm. Calculating the time, the realm would not open for at least 2 months. This ample time frame was sufficient for him to arrange various matters, provided he possessed enough spirit stones. Thus, he resolved to earn a considerable amount of spirit stones. With a clear path ahead, Jiang Yuan made his way to the largest chamber of commerce in Baiyun City, the Tianfu Chamber of Commerce. This substantial establishment conducted business throughout nearly the entire eastern region. Rumor had it that the foundation of the Tianfu Chamber lay in the central region, the most prosperous area for the human race. Hence, Jiang Yuan sought to ascertain the value of the talismans he had drawn during his leisure. Approaching the counter, a stunningly beautiful woman greeted him with a gentle and courteous tone. Welcome to the Tianfu Chamber of Commerce, esteemed guest. How may I assist you today? Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan produced a talisman and delicately placed it on the counter, softly inquiring, I would like to know if you purchase talismans? The woman maintained her smile, her expression unwavering. Of course, dear guest. As long as your talisman is of high quality, we will purchase as many as you have. Her confident tone prompted Jiang Yuan to nod subtly. Then he pushed the talisman toward her. Please take a look. Please wait a moment, esteemed guest. I will arrange for someone to examine it right away. With that, the woman signaled to an attendant to have the talisman inspected while she guided Jiang Yuan to the reception room to wait. As he observed the tea and pastries before him, along with the attentive maid ready to serve, Jiang Yuan's thoughts drifted. It must be said that there was a reason the Tianfu Chamber of Commerce had successfully expanded its business throughout the eastern region. By virtue of the emotional value this service imparts, it is sufficient to attract a multitude of patrons. As his thoughts meandered, the woman who had departed returned, cradling the talisman he had brought. Esteemed guest, this talisman of yours is of moderate quality, capable of withstanding a full-force strike from a pinnacle body-tempering realm practitioner. Our Tianfu Chamber of Commerce is willing to purchase your talisman at the price of 50 low-grade spirit stones each. How do you find this offer? Prior to his visit, Jiang Yuan had frequented other chambers to ascertain the market value of talismans of similar quality. The offer of 50 low-grade spirit stones per talisman evidently exceeded his expectations. Initially, he had anticipated selling for 40 stones at most, so this unexpected gain delighted him. Nodding gently, he responded, Very well, I shall sell the talisman to you. Excellent. May our collaboration be fruitful, the woman replied, extending her hand. Jiang Yuan briefly clasped it before releasing it. Subsequently, he used all his remaining spirit stones to procure 200 sets of materials for crafting talismans. It must be said that the talisman industry is quite lucrative. With a cost of 10 low-grade spirit stones, one could earn a profit of 40 stones. Such a fourfold return tempts many, and one can only imagine the heights that higher-grade talismans might reach. However, Jiang Yuan was acutely aware of one critical truth. The high return stemmed from a notably low success rate. Typically, from 10 talismans, only 5 are successfully completed, which is already quite remarkable. To achieve a 100 success rate, as he had, was virtually unheard of. To avoid attracting undue attention and potential troubles, Jiang Yuan had no intention of crafting spirit-level talismans. He merely needed to rely on the profits from mortal-grade talismans to accumulate sufficient spirit stones. After securing the materials, he returned to the inn, where he diligently began his crafting process. The fox spirit, Hu Jiuge, who had remained around his neck, showed no signs of activity. Upon closer inspection, he discovered she was in a deep slumber. Having sustained grave injuries and lacking celestial treasures, she could only recuperate in this manner. In Baiyun City. What did you say? Hua Xinyun exclaimed, rising abruptly from her seat as she absorbed the report from the outer sect disciple. The gentleness once gracing her face was replaced by shock and sorrow. You mean, my junior brother sacrificed himself to save others, perishing in an explosion with the wicked cultivators of the blood demon sect? Indeed, senior sister, the wandering cultivator conveyed it thus, the disciple affirmed. This intersect disciple's token has been verified as belonging to Jiang Yuan. After confirming the truth of the grim news, Jiang Yuan, in a state of desolation, sank back into her seat. Her complexion was ashen, and she muttered to herself, once again, I failed to protect him. Once before, and now again. After a moment of murmuring, anger surged within her, and she declared with unwavering resolve, blood demon sect. Merely these 3 words. The disciples below could feel the anger and sorrow they contained. Little junior brother, the senior sister will surely avenge you. Gazing at the token in her hand, Jiang Yuan was filled with resolve. The 9 Thunder Holy Land. After confirming that Jiang Yuan was fully engrossed in crafting talismans, the silver-haired woman returned to the 9 Thunder Holy Land to find the silver-haired girl. She then elucidated Jiang Yuan's circumstances, generously expressing her admiration and high regard for the young man. The silver-haired girl was slightly taken aback upon learning of Jiang Yuan's exceptional comprehension, subsequently breaking into a radiant smile. My luck and discernment are quite remarkable, aren't they? Undeniably, your fortune is indeed commendable. Just a brief outing, and you encounter such a talented youth. The silver-haired woman did not refute. The statement held truth. Moreover, to praise another was to commend oneself, a win-win situation. At that moment, a petite figure entered the grand hall, accompanied by a gentle voice. So, you are all here, engaged in such fervent discussion. I wonder what topics have captured your interest. Chapter 24. Detection of a new potential target. The newcomer possessed long silvery white hair and appeared to be merely 11 or 12 years of age. Her features were sweet and adorable, exuding a gentle aura. Even without fully maturing, it was evident she was a beauty in the making. Upon the arrival of the little girl before the young woman and the silver-haired lady, it was clear that the 3 were remarkably alike, akin to sisters. Why have you come, my past self? The silver-haired girl inquired, somewhat surprised, for the little girl was rarely present in the grand hall. In response, the silver-haired little girl cheerfully replied, I merely came to satisfy my curiosity, as you all seemed so mysteriously engaged. The young woman and the silver-haired lady exchanged glances and chose not to conceal anything. They proceeded to recount Jiang Yuan's situation once more. Upon hearing the entire account, the little girl's eyes sparkled with excitement as she exclaimed, If what you say is true, this young man is indeed a divine gift to us as the finest disciple. Where is he now? I wish to meet him. The silver-haired little girl appeared restless, brimming with a desire to rush to Jiang Yuan's side. However, both the young woman and the silver-haired lady shook their heads in unison, disapproving of her eagerness. Why not? I will merely observe from the shadows. I won't disrupt your plans. After a moment of contemplation, the silver-haired woman finally nodded in agreement. If it is just to observe discreetly, then there is no issue. Yes, I will be very well behaved. Shortly thereafter, under the watchful gaze of the young woman, the figures of one large and one small vanished without a trace, softly murmuring, I too wish to meet the young man. Let us resolve matters first before we discuss this further. 2 days later in Honglei City, Jiang Yuan had been diligently crafting a total of 200 talismans during this period. Remarkably, not a single one had failed, achieving a perfect success rate of 100%. If anyone were to discover this astonishing rate of success, their immediate reaction would undoubtedly be disbelief. Such an extraordinary feat would seem utterly impossible. Even a reincarnated deity could hardly attain such an exaggerated rate of success. However, apart from the individual involved, the only other witness to this miracle was a sleeping pink-furred fox. Oh, and above in the heavens, there were 2 figures, one large and one small, observing discreetly. Me, my future self, I feel I can hardly restrain myself. Can we bring this young man back now? Such an extraordinary genius cannot be allowed to slip through our fingers. The silver-haired little girl, brimming with excitement, tugged incessantly at the hem of the woman beside her. In contrast to the little girl's exuberance, the silver-haired woman maintained her composure, though the corners of her mouth, which she kept pressed down, betrayed her own excitement. No, we mustn't act too rashly, lest it backfire. After observing for some time, particularly the previous incident where the young man feigned death to escape, her heart ached for the struggles he must have endured. Yet, truthfully, she found herself perplexed. From her perspective, the young man's senior sister and master had neither mistreated nor neglected him. On the contrary, they had shown considerable concern. What could have prompted him to feign death and flee? Though the woman was uncertain, she understood one thing. It was best not to interfere excessively, as it might lead to the opposite effect, causing the young man to become wary and choose to escape quickly. This was not the outcome the silver-haired woman desired. Very well, Then, I shall strive to exercise patience. I will wait until the day he chooses us as his mentors. The silver-haired little girl excitedly waved her tiny fist before stealing a few more glances and departing. She feared that if she lingered any longer, she would be unable to resist the urge to whisk Jiang Yuan away. As the little girl left, the silver-haired woman resumed her role as a guardian. At that moment, Jiang Yuan was unaware of his rising status in the hearts of others. He was preoccupied with a pressing matter: how to swiftly and discreetly convert the 200 finished talismans in his possession into spirit stones. Having lived in this world for 18 years, he was no fool devoid of common sense. Selling all 200 talismans to the Tianfu Merchant Association in one go would attract too much attention. Thus, he resolved to sell them incrementally. And so, half a month passed. Jiang Yuan successfully sold all 200 talismans through various channels, acquiring 100 medium-grade spirit stones. He had earned enough for the fare of the spirit ship, with plenty to spare. In merely a month and a half, the day of the secret realm's opening will arrive, yet he has no intention of journeying to the Julei Holy Land just yet. After placing 50 medium-grade spirit stones aside, Jiang Yuan returns to the Tianfu Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, esteemed talisman master. May I inquire what you seek this time? Jiang Yuan's status has risen significantly compared to half a month prior, all due to his newfound identity as a talisman master. In the eastern region, possessing any of the titles of talisman master, alchemist, formation master, or weaponsmith, particularly at a high level, grants one the privilege of being treated as a distinguished guest wherever one goes. I require some cultivation elixirs, Jiang Yuan states, opting not to engage in alchemy himself, as such an act would be overly ostentatious. His strength has yet to reach a level where he could effectively manage the repercussions of drawing attention to himself. Should his exceptional talent be revealed, it might attract the attention of formidable beings intent on capturing him. He would then be left with no choice but to waste a teleportation talisman. The thought of being seized by such powers and reduced to a heartless talisman-making machine, an alchemical automaton, or even a mere breeding stallion fills him with dread. He must not allow himself to be exposed. After a while, Jiang Yuan exits the Tianfu Chamber of Commerce, his wealth diminished by 40 medium-grade spirit stones, having purchased elixirs and various talisman materials. On his way back to the inn, a figure approaches him directly, and the long-awaited voice of the system suddenly echoes in his mind. New target detected. Han Qingmei, now added to the list of potential conquests. The unexpected announcement causes Jiang Yuan's pupils to constrict, his gaze immediately capturing the woman who approaches him. The veil obscures her features, yet the chill emanating from her suggests a personality akin to that of an ice-cold beauty. At this moment, Jiang Yuan feels a flicker of excitement. The emergence of a new target may provide him with the answers he seeks regarding whether the system's marked targets will lead to irrevocable suffering in his future. Curiosity and anticipation swell within him. Chapter 25. One must learn to love oneself. The appearance of a new target evokes more curiosity than surprise in Jiang Yuan. He hopes to uncover answers through this potential conquest. Thus, he maintains a facade of a mere passerby, brushing past Han Qingmei. However, as he walks by, he senses a gaze of astonishment directed at him, soon followed by a tentative voice. Pardon me, please wait. Han Qingmei's voice is crisp, laced with a hint of coldness. Jiang Yuan does not halt his stride, as he is not so self-absorbed as to believe she is calling for him, despite his undeniable good looks. Perhaps aware of her own awkwardness, Han Qingmei hastily continues, "Young master, please stay." As she spoke, she gracefully leaped into the air, landing steadily before Jiang Yuan. Upon seeing her, Jiang Yuan came to a halt, his gaze curious as it turned toward her. He pondered inwardly. Could she possibly be one of those individuals who appear cold yet are driven by base desires? While Jiang Yuan was lost in thought, Han Qingmei stared blankly at the man before her, muttering to herself. It seemed familiar yet unfamiliar. The woman's inexplicable utterance caused Jiang Yuan to furrow his brow, prompting him to ask in a calm tone, "May I inquire as to the reason you have stopped me?" This question jolted Han Qingmei back to her senses. And realizing her actions were rather impolite, she hurried to explain, "I apologize, sir. You bear an uncanny resemblance to a dear acquaintance of mine. In my excitement, I may have inadvertently offended you. I am truly sorry." Had those words been spoken by anyone else, Jiang Yuan would have dismissed them without a second thought. However, when uttered by a target deemed worthy by the system, his mind was instantly flooded with thoughts. Terms such as white moonlight, substitute literature, and others swirled in his consciousness, inducing a physical discomfort. Nevertheless, Jiang Yuan masked his feelings and responded with a gentle nod, "It is of no consequence." With that, he circumvented Han Qingmei and proceeded towards the inn. This time, she did not impede his path but silently watched him depart. Upon returning to the inn, Jiang Yuan wasted no time delving into Han Qingmei's system records. After a considerable period, having scrutinized the entirety of her future as outlined in the records, his expression soured as though he had just consumed something distasteful. The content was overwhelmingly cliché, causing his scalp to tingle. A mere handful of keywords encapsulated the entirety of the system's projections: white moonlight, substitute literature, ruthless paths, husband-killing narratives, husband-chasing funerals, and death literature. This series of heavyweights coalesced into an overwhelming mass, rendering Jiang Yuan momentarily disoriented. Especially troubling was the prospect of his own demise serving as a catalyst for her lifelong regret. Was he truly so spineless? Jiang Yuan felt as though his future self was perilously close to divinity, yet utterly detached from humanity. In his view, this so-called death literature was the domain of the ineffectual. To think that one could inflict harm upon someone who is utterly indifferent through one's own demise. Little did they realize that such actions would only wound those who genuinely care, even if they did evoke a fleeting sense of regret. The other party would likely forget it entirely in due course, moving on to lead a blissful new life. It was a transformation into a mere jester by the roadside. One must learn to love oneself. After this inner outburst, Jiang Yuan rubbed his aching brow. However, despite the unpleasant revelations, it did not signify a lack of gain. His first revelation was the undeniable conclusion that the system-marked targets were indeed rotten fruit. Moreover, one must steer clear of those individuals whose mere contact could precipitate an undesirable future. The second realization is that Jiang Yuan's objective during his stay here is to acquire the rare treasures of heaven and earth that can restore one's foundation. The initial beneficiary of such a treasure is none other than Han Qingmei. However, she is referred to as the first recipient because her sect lacks the strength to possess such an extraordinary treasure. To safeguard their lineage, Han Qingmei's sect had no choice but to part with it. Otherwise, they would face the imminent threat of annihilation should their secret be unveiled. As for how it ultimately came into the hands of Jiang Yuan in the future, he remains oblivious, for the system merely summarizes it as a matter of serendipity. Yet, he is aware of one thing. Once the secret realm opens, he merely needs to discreetly follow this woman to obtain the treasure. Contemplating this, a faint smile crept upon Jiang Yuan's lips, eagerly anticipating the treasure-hunting prowess of Han Qingmei. At the moment Jiang Yuan was poised to accurately locate his goal, he heard the languid voice of Hu Jiuge. "Human, is it time for a meal?" Ever since she began accompanying him, Hu Jiuge had adopted this perpetually lazy demeanor. While her lingering injuries certainly played a role, it was evident that she genuinely relished this carefree existence. In her Fox clan, despite being a figure of great renown, the burdens of leadership were exhausting, leaving little room for cultivation or even rest, which had become a luxury. Now, life was quite satisfactory. Eat when hungry, sleep when tired. Could a fox's life truly be this free and unencumbered? Ah, how delightful it is to simply be a gluttonous fox. Listening to Hu Jiuge's languorous tone, Jiang Yuan could only respond with a hint of exasperation. "Are you really not going to move at all? How can you sleep all day?" "It matters not. I simply wish to live as a blissful fox until the end of my days," she retorted. Her carefree response making Jiang Yuan feel as if she had resigned herself to a lackadaisical existence. Nonetheless, he understood her plight. With her foundation damaged, the prospect of cultivating to her former pinnacle was a distant dream, although her current strength was of little use. The experience and techniques she possessed were invaluable to Jiang Yuan. With that foundation, combined with his memories of various novels and films from his past life, as well as his innate comprehension, he began to grasp several techniques suited to him, encompassing attack, defense, and agility. However, without experiencing actual combat, he could not ascertain the extent of his abilities. But before that, it was time to eat. Thus, Jiang Yuan rose and made his way out of the guest room. "Waiter, bring me the house specialties." "Certainly, esteemed guest, please hold on." Time passed swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, a month and a half had elapsed. During this period, Jiang Yuan's primary focus was on his own cultivation. Chapter 26. The Accursed Thief. I will not let this go, just wait. Under the guidance of Hu Jiuge, the assistance of the system, and through his own diligent efforts, his cultivation steadily progressed, reaching the pinnacle of the 8th layer of the spirit cultivation realm. If he continued at this pace, he might even break through to the 9th layer before joining the Jiu Lei sacred land. Moreover, Jiang Yuan could perceive that his superior thunder spirit root was still undergoing a gradual transformation. This included the evolution of his sacred body. He could distinctly sense that his sacred body required a particular opportunity to advance further. However, what this opportunity entailed was beyond his knowledge. But the pressing matter at hand was to enter the secret realm and locate the heavenly materials and earthly treasures capable of restoring his foundation. In order to conceal his identity, Jiang Yuan donned a long black robe and a white fox mask. Utilizing his perfected concealment technique, he altered his aura, presenting himself as a figure both righteous and wicked, with a hint of malevolence, unmistakably intimidating. Indeed, when Jiang Yuan appeared at the entrance of the secret realm in this guise, the surrounding sect members and rogue cultivators instinctively maintained their distance from him. Typically, individuals who chose to hide their identities and exuded an air of danger were not to be trifled with, as the consequences of provoking them could be dire. Indifferent to the wary gazes of the surrounding cultivators, Jiang Yuan swiftly sought out his target. Before long, he located the treasure-seeking mouse for this expedition, Han Qingmei. The subsequent actions were straightforward. He merely needed to follow her closely and wait for the opportune moment to strike. Simple as that. Meanwhile, on another side, a woman wearing a wide-brimmed hat stood respectfully beside a silver-haired woman, whispering, "I understand. I will go protect the future junior disciple." The silver-haired woman nodded and then vanished without a trace. The hat-wearing woman sighed in resignation as she witnessed her master depart, feeling as if she were a mere brick, moved wherever needed. Despite her thoughts, the hat-wearing woman completed her task, following Jiang Yuan closely once the secret realm opened. Within the secret realm, the environment between the realms was entirely different. The last was a vast forest, whereas this one was characterized by a terrain centered around a volcano. Surrounded by patches of forest, particularly, it was an active volcano. However, Jiang Yuan paid little attention to these surroundings, stealthily trailing behind Han Qingmei. The secret realm was open for a week, and he possessed ample patience to wait. Throughout this expedition, Han Qingmei seemed somewhat restless, as if she sensed unseen eyes watching her. Yet, each time she sought confirmation, nothing transpired, which led her to question whether she was being overly sensitive. She harbored concerns that ill-intentioned individuals were lurking in the shadows, observing her. Shaking her head to dispel these extraneous thoughts, Han Qingmei refocused her attention on this excursion into the secret realm. As the esteemed chief disciple of the Ming Sword sect, her cultivation had reached the 7th level of the spirit-nurturing realm, and her swordsmanship had attained a state of mastery. Most importantly, she had begun to grasp the essence of sword intent, rendering her path of slaughter unstoppable. Any beast that dared to obstruct her could scarcely withstand her strikes. Throughout this process, Jiang Yuan, who had been discreetly observing, absorbed many intriguing sword techniques. With the aid of his formidable comprehension, he could firmly retain any technique Han Qingmei executed after witnessing it just once. Jiang Yuan felt no qualms about appropriating others' techniques, particularly knowing that their fates would intertwine in the future. He felt no guilt whatsoever. It was almost comical, had his moral standards been lower. His escape from the Tianwu sect would not have involved feigning death, but rather unleashing a bloodbath through the Blood Demon sect. He would never have claimed that upon returning to the Tianwu sect, he would only target the true instigators while sparing the innocent, much like his current intentions, which did not merely involve robbery, but rather a deadly pursuit. As the two moved forward, the woman in the conical hat lingered behind, quietly documenting Jiang Yuan's actions. She felt a burgeoning curiosity about why he persistently shadowed that woman. Was there an ulterior motive? Was it lust or greed? The woman in the hat awaited answers to her myriad questions. At that moment, a pillar of light suddenly erupted from a nearby location, radiating a powerful aura of spiritual energy and colorful brilliance. A great opportunity had manifested. Recognizing the significance of this event, Jiang Yuan immediately understood that it aligned with the purpose of his journey. Following the treasure-seeking mouse had proven to be the right choice. It was right before him. Without hesitation and shedding any attempt to conceal himself, Jiang Yuan silently invoked the thunder step technique. In the next instant, he transformed into a bolt of lightning. Vanishing from his previous position, the Thunder Saint body unleashed its formidable power for the first time. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Yuan found himself in the vicinity of his destination. Before his eyes stood a small fruit tree emanating a kaleidoscope of light, adorned with a singular golden fruit. Although Jiang Yuan did not know the name of this precious treasure, he was acutely aware that it was the very objective of his quest. Thus, he took another step forward, appearing directly before the small fruit tree. With a swift motion, he collected both the tree and its fruit, along with the earth beneath it, into his system's backpack. Having accomplished this, Jiang Yuan departed without a moment's hesitation, leaving no trace behind. Possessing the memories of a past life filled with novels, he comprehended that treasures of such extraordinary caliber would attract not only fellow cultivators, but also the fierce beasts dwelling within the secret realms. Particularly, the guardian of this fruit tree. As anticipated, just a few breaths after Jiang Yuan had dashed away, a hoarse roar erupted behind him, seemingly expressing, "Where's my fruit tree? It has vanished. You, cursed thief, I shall not let this go, just wait." The anguished cry of the rightful owner stirred within Jiang Yuan a thrill akin to that of a petty thief, a smile curling at the corner of his lips. Such commotion naturally caught the attention of Hu Jiugu, who remained within the long robes, prompting her to inquire in utter bewilderment. Human, what is happening? Why have we fled? The joy of pilfering something valuable was one that Jiang Yuan felt compelled to share, and thus he responded with a beaming grin. It's simply that I took someone else's prized possession, and now the rightful owner is enraged, unable to catch up, left to seethe in impotent fury. Still groggy from just waking, Hu Jiugu instinctively nodded, her curiosity piqued. What did you steal that could provoke such wrath? Chapter 27. The five-colored fruit. In light of Hu Jiugu's inquisitiveness, Jiang Yuan responded with an air of mystery. You shall discover it once we reach a safe location. Upon hearing this, Hu Jiugu refrained from pressing further, choosing instead to rest her head against his chest. Through their time spent together, she had come to understand his character. He was a man of icy exterior, yet warm interior. Initially, one might perceive him as distant and cautious, but as one delved deeper, his tenderness, thoughtfulness, and caring nature shone through, revealing him to be a sunny, affable young man. Frankly, Hu Jiugu felt fortunate to have encountered him. Unaware of the pink fox's inner thoughts, Jiang Yuan glanced back during their retreat and noted that the guardian of the fruit tree had not pursued them. However, he had no intention of halting, instead seeking a secure refuge. Unlike Jiang Yuan's group, who had successfully escaped, Hanqing Mei was not so fortunate. Drawn by the emergence of the spiritual treasure, she arrived at the scene only to find herself face to face with a three-headed python, its cultivation level reaching the pinnacle of the spirit cultivation realm, glaring menacingly at her. Unable to catch that damned thief, yet surely I can deal with this insignificant human, seethed the enraged three-headed python, its massive form surging towards Hanqing Mei. Cursed, she muttered under her breath. Realizing that there was no time for retreat against this unwarranted calamity, she could only draw her sword and confront the impending threat. Meanwhile, the woman in the conical hat observed the scene with cold detachment, her thoughts occupied with the whereabouts of her future junior disciple. Pondering whether this was indeed the speed expected of someone in the body refinement realm, with a resigned sigh, she contemplated the situation. The woman in the straw hat felt truly like a weary soul. Yet, there was no alternative. The tasks assigned by her master must be fulfilled. Thus, she pursued the direction in which Jiang Yuan had departed, leaving behind the fierce battle between Hanqing Mei and the three-headed python. The commotion caused by the adversaries grew increasingly intense, compounded by the recent manifestation of a rare spiritual treasure. Before long, other cultivators began to arrive one after another. Witnessing the ongoing clash, these cultivators had no intention of joining the fray. Rather, they chose to observe from a distance, confident that the chaos would not reach them. However, this was merely their assumption. When the three-headed python noticed the growing number of cultivators around it, it harbored no desire to flee. Its singular intention was to ensure that these wretched thieves paid dearly. In the next moment, a terrifying cloud of toxic mist emanated from its maw, silently spreading towards the surrounding cultivators. Damn it, it's poisonous. With a cultivator's cry of alarm, the others were jolted into action, hastily opting to escape. Yet, it was too late. The poison from a ninth-tier beast of the spirit cultivation realm took effect almost instantaneously. One by one, they felt their bodies weaken and their spiritual energy sluggish, ultimately being crushed into a pulp by the pursuing three-headed python. Truly, it could be said, men die for wealth. Birds perish for food. Meanwhile, Hanqing Mei seized the opportunity to flee. On the other side, Jiang Yuan had already reached a safe area and settled beneath a grand tree. Having successfully secured his objective without incident, he felt quite pleased at that moment. Just then, a pink fox head emerged from his collar, lazily speaking up. Human, do you now have time to tell me? Accustomed to this address, Jiang Yuan paid it no mind. With a cheerful demeanor, he retrieved the sole golden fruit from the system's backpack, which had grown on the fruit tree. Then, with an air of mystery, he inquired, Fox Jiug, do you see what this is? Initially, Fox Jiug regarded the situation with a sense of leisure, believing that a second-tier secret realm could hardly yield anything of value. However, when she beheld the golden fruit in Jiang Yuan's hand, she was left dumbfounded. Coming back to her senses, she rubbed her eyes to confirm she was not mistaken, and then gasped in astonishment. Indeed, it is the sacred five-colored golden fruit. Not only can it restore a cultivator's foundation, but it also enhances the user's spiritual root. This is a treasure beyond price. How could such a level of celestial material and earthly treasure exist in this second-tier secret realm? Fox Jiug stammered in shock, her words trembling with excitement. In contrast to the elated pink-furred fox, Jiang Yuan remained somewhat composed. This was because the system records did not provide a comprehensive understanding of the complete effects of the five-color golden fruit. He only knew that it could restore a cultivator's foundation, but was astonished to learn it could also elevate one's qualifications. He began to grasp why Wang Yaohua, who faced an uncertain future, had utilized the five-color golden fruit. Not only did he restore his foundation, but he also elevated his spiritual root to an exquisite level, likely due to the effects of the five-colored divine fruit. However, for now, he would allow his once affordable second senior sister to continue her existence as a futureless waste. With a wicked thought, Jiang Yuan refocused his attention on Hu Jiuge. He observed her subtle expression before gently coaxing her. Hu Jiuge, you greatly desire this five-colored divine fruit, do you not? Faced with the temptation woven into his words, Hu Jiuge swallowed hard. Struggling to divert her gaze from the fruit, she looked at Jiang Yuan and attempted to respond with a calm demeanor. If I express my desire, will you grant it? Certainly, but you must pay a small price. A price? Hu Jiuge swallowed again, her clever mind racing through the many tales she had read, particularly those featuring fox spirits and scholars. Perhaps recalling the daring plots and illustrations from those stories made her blush, transforming into her human form with a shy demeanor. Indeed. Are you still coveting my body? Oh, I can endure such a price. Let us proceed, she thought, glancing at Jiang Yuan's handsome face and robust physique, secretly contemplating her gain. Yet, on the surface, Hu Jiuge feigned a self-sacrificing expression and began to unfasten her garments. However, the moment she touched the button at her collar, Jiang Yuan struck her forehead with a sudden flick. Ow, that hurts. Instinctively, Hu Jiuge covered her forehead with her hands, gazing at Jiang Yuan with wide, confused eyes. To her surprise, she found him displaying a look of exasperation and disdain, particularly with his following remark. Do you perceive me as someone so desperate? Or have you always harbored such thoughts about me? The classification of heavenly materials ranges from low to high, levels 1 to 6, followed by sacred, immortal, and divine, further divided into lower, middle, upper, exquisite, and beyond. Chapter 28. I never regret the decisions I make. Feeling the subtle gaze from Jiang Yuan and being directly confronted with her own thoughts, Hu Jiuge felt as if she had been stepped on the tail, springing up in alarm. Blushing fiercely, she stammered an explanation. And no, you mustn't slander me. Desiring to explain, she found herself at a loss for words, ultimately lowering her head in shame, covering her face with her hands, becoming an ostrich. Witnessing this scene, Jiang Yuan smiled faintly. His thoughts had not arisen spontaneously. They had been carefully devised in advance. Upon formally entering the realm of cultivation, Jiang Yuan was acutely aware of one undeniable truth. He was utterly alone, bereft of any faction to rely upon, devoid of any patron or sanctuary. He could depend solely on his own resolve. Consequently, every step he took was as precarious as treading on thin ice, only to be met with a harsh rebuke from the system. The Tianwu sect was destined to be his grave. If he did not leave, a tragic demise was inevitable. The root of all this misfortune lay in his solitude. He had no powerful backing to turn to. Moreover, as Jiang Yuan devised his plan to feign death and escape the Tianwu sect, an unsettling thought gnawed at his heart. If he were to encounter such dire straits again upon reaching the Jiulei sacred land, what course of action would he take? It was crucial to understand that his successful escape from the Tianwu sect hinged on the convergence of favorable timing, geography, and human factors, a serendipitous alignment unlikely to recur. Jiang Yuan dared not gamble on such fortune. Thus, a bold notion crystallized in his mind. No faction, then he would forge one himself. No patron, then he would accumulate one with his own hands. While the ideal solution was for Jiang Yuan himself to become both the faction and the patron, as the saying goes. The world never lacks prodigies. What it lacks are prodigies who survive long enough to mature. Jiang Yuan was one such promising prodigy, destined for greatness. He required ample time, as well as a patron capable of clearing obstacles in moments of crisis. When the opportunity presented itself in the form of Hu Jiuge, and Jiang Yuan understood her predicament, his audacious plan began to take shape. Casting aside any playful demeanor, Jiang Yuan fixed a solemn gaze upon Hu Jiuge and spoke with measured calmness. I can grant you the five-colored divine fruit, but you must fulfill one request. His tranquil voice soothed the shame that lingered in Hu Jiuge's heart. Raising her head, she met the earnestness in Jiang Yuan's eyes and responded with equal gravity. Very well. Speak. I wish for you to become my protector, to guard my path for 10 years. 10 years, a span neither too long nor too brief. Yet Jiang Yuan possessed unwavering confidence that within this decade, he would cultivate his strength sufficiently to safeguard himself. Hu Jiuge was momentarily taken aback by the modesty of his request. She had braced herself for a lioness demand, but instead was asked merely to be his protector, and for only 10 years. Pressing her delicate lips together, her gaze complex, she softly inquired. When you come to understand the true value of the five-colored divine fruit, Will you regret the decision you make today? Jiang Yuan smiled faintly, his voice steady and resolute. I never regret my decisions, for they are immutable. If that is so, then I shall strive to make even better choices in the future. Besides, I do not believe the worth of a single 5-colored divine fruit surpasses 10 years of protection from a Xian immortal realm expert. His ability to make such a composed decision stemmed from the fact that nestled quietly within his system backpack was a 5-colored fruit tree. With such a tree in his possession, who could worry about acquiring a second? Sensing the tranquility in Jiang Yuan's eyes, devoid of the slightest regret, Hu Jiaogu paused momentarily before breaking into a subtle smile. She then extended her small hand to take the 5-colored fruit from him, responding cheerfully, "All right. Since you have no regrets, I shall not refuse this advantageous transaction." Jiang Yuan remained calm throughout, though internally he was elated. As long as he did not recklessly endanger himself, a formidable figure of the flying immortal realm could adequately ensure his safety in most situations. Observing the 5-colored fruit in her hand, Hu Jiaogu took small bites, savoring it until it was entirely consumed. In the next moment, a gentle surge of energy flowed through her body, permeating her limbs. She could distinctly feel her damaged foundation being repaired, her water affinity spiritual root undergoing a transformation. Everything was progressing positively. I will need some time to assimilate this power, perhaps a week, or even a month. So, dear human, take care. My cultivation has yet to return to its peak. With that, Hu Jiaogu transformed back into her pink-furred fox form, curling up around Jiang Yuan's neck, resuming her role as his scarf. With matters settled, 3 days remained until the secret realm would open. During this time, she planned to test her newly comprehended techniques on the beasts. However, before that, she decided to change her attire. Jiang Yuan glanced at his black robe, the fox mask adorning his face, and the sinister aura emanating from him. It was likely that any other cultivators encountering him would mistake him for a malevolent practitioner at first glance. To avoid unnecessary conflicts, he donned his usual attire. Thus, a refined young gentleman appeared in his place. "Excellent. Let us commence," he declared, setting forth towards the direction where the demonic beasts roamed. 3 days later, time had quietly passed. In a forest that was not particularly dense, a monkey-like beast trembled in fear, hiding beneath a large tree. The cause of its terror was the recent emergence of a monstrous figure. This being attacked any demonic creature without mercy. Its formidable strength rendered the beasts powerless against it. If they did not conceal themselves well, they would surely meet their demise. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind the monkey beast, accompanied by a chilling voice. "Hee, I found you. Taste my thunder fist." Boom. Squeak. Splash. The beast met its end just like that. As the instigator, Jiang Yuan, with a refreshed spirit, withdrew his fists and checked the time. Today marked the day the secret realm would open. It was time to depart. With this thought in mind, he sprinted towards the entrance of the secret realm. Once this harbinger of chaos had left, the concealed beasts began to tremble and reveal themselves. For 3 days. Can you imagine the torment they endured? Chapter 29. Insufficient spirit stones to cultivate as a celestial. For 3 long days, they had been relentlessly pursued and slaughtered by that perverse being. Woe is me. Finally, this fiend has departed. May he never return. At this moment, Jiang Yuan remained unaware of the immense psychological burden his actions had placed upon the beasts of that region. Presently, he was making his way towards Honglei City through the open gates of the secret realm. Upon returning to Honglei City, the first order of business for Jiang Yuan was to purchase a ticket for a spirit vessel bound for the nearest city to the Nine Thunder Sacred Land. However, upon arriving at the ticket counter, he was met with a throng of people. Unsure of the cause of the commotion, he relied on his charm to glean information from a nearby woman. It turned out that in just half a month, the Nine Thunder Sacred Land would hold its grand disciple recruitment ceremony. These cultivators were eager to ascertain whether they possessed the qualifications to join the Sacred Land. This indicated that the majority of those present were endowed with thunder spiritual roots. Jiang Yuan, however, remained unconcerned about his ability to join the Sacred Land. After all, he not only possessed a superior thunder spiritual root, but also boasted a sacred body imbued with thunder attributes. Joining was well within his grasp. The only uncertainty lay in how far he could progress, which would depend on his performance. After a while, Jiang Yuan successfully procured a ticket for himself and boarded the spirit vessel. The vessel was enormous, capable of comfortably accommodating over 1,000 people. Jiang Yuan's ticket granted him a private room, a sanctuary he preferred over being jostled amidst a crowd. As soon as he boarded, he found himself the object of intense scrutiny from several female cultivators, captivated by his striking appearance. Their gazes were akin to a pack of hungry wolves spotting fresh meat, sending shivers down his spine. Indeed, being exceedingly handsome often attracts attention, a delightful yet troublesome predicament. Jiang Yuan mused to himself, while settling quietly into his little room. Time slipped by unnoticed, and 3 days passed in tranquility. Under the veil of night, Jiang Yuan ventured onto the deserted deck, gazing at the fleeting scenery beyond. His mind began to wander, contemplating the adventures that awaited him at the Nine Thunders sacred land. Regardless of the challenges he might face, he resolved to find a way to overcome them. Yet, he hoped fervently to avoid encounters with those formidable beings, though he had the system's assistance, enabling him to steer clear of undesirable entanglements. One could never predict the emergence of unforeseen circumstances. After all, as the saying goes, no one knows whether tomorrow or an unexpected event will arrive first. He truly walks on thin ice. While Jiang Yuan's thoughts drifted, a figure approached him. Though she wore a conical hat, the curves of her figure revealed her femininity. Suddenly, the woman spoke. "Young master, what troubles weigh upon you that you find yourself here in the gentle breeze under the sparse moonlight?" Realizing someone stood beside him, Jiang Yuan instinctively turned his gaze. However, the hat obscured his view of her face. Faced with this familiar stranger, he chose not to feign ignorance. After confirming that the system showed no signs of the woman beside him, he replied softly, "Indeed, I have my worries, such as the nature of the assessments conducted by the Nine Thunders sacred land for those seeking to join." Although Jiang Yuan had previously familiarized himself with the types of evaluations at the sacred land, he saw no harm in pretending ignorance. After all, discussions often begin with a feigned lack of knowledge. As expected, the woman, undeterred, began to elaborate on the examination types of the Nine Thunders sacred land. There are 3 phases in the assessment. The first phase confirms the practitioner's qualifications, ascending the heavenly ladder, where each step is a trial. The second phase assesses the quality of the practitioner's spiritual root and physical constitution. The third phase is an introspective one, verifying the practitioner's resolve in their path. Jiang Yuan felt confident about passing the first 2 phases. However, when it came to the third phase, he found himself uncertain. His determination to pursue the path was strong, yet it did not guarantee an advantage in this particular trial. According to whispers, those who reached the third phase had to confront the 4 weaknesses of human nature: wealth, power, desire, and emotion. He could not be sure if he could overcome these challenges, as he remained unsure of any hidden weaknesses within himself. Nevertheless, he resolved to forge ahead. After a brief exchange with the woman in the conical hat, Jiang Yuan took the initiative to bid her farewell and return to his small room. The woman did not attempt to stop him, instead quietly observing his departing figure. She then produced a jade tablet, infused it with spiritual energy, and softly spoke, "Master, I have conveyed the details of the assessment to the junior disciple." Moments later, a response echoed from the tablet. "Well done. Thank you for your efforts. You shall return with the young one." "Yes, master." After concluding the communication, the woman tucked away the jade tablet and returned to her own small room. Jinglei City is located near the Nine Thunders sacred land, and with the grand ceremony for accepting disciples set to occur in a week, many practitioners with Thunder's spiritual roots, confident in their own potential, gathered there. At this moment, Jiang Yuan, wearing a fox mask, strolled leisurely through the streets. The reason for his masked visage was the influence of his own appearance. It is essential to acknowledge that many individuals arriving here hail from prominent families and powerful factions. Should the young lady of a prestigious family take a fancy to his appearance and forcibly claim him as her male consort, or if those who find themselves overshadowed by his looks choose to send their subordinates to trouble him, it would indeed be an unwarranted disaster. Although donning a fox mask may evoke curiosity among those nearby, it is certainly preferable to the calamities he has envisioned. While the prudent course of action would be to remain at the inn, awaiting the commencement of the disciple selection ceremony at the sacred ground. The lack of sufficient spirit stones renders his cultivation futile. Thus, Jiang Yuan disembarked from the spirit boat with a clear purpose, making his way to the merchant association to sell the talismans he had crafted aboard. Upon arriving at the entrance of the Tianfu Merchant Association, he paused and stepped inside. The maidens surrounding him regarded his fox mask with indifference, instead respectfully inquiring, "Might the esteemed guest wish to sell something? Do you accept talismans here?" In response, Jiang Yuan produced a talisman and handed it to the nearest maid. "Please hold on for a moment. I shall fetch someone to confirm," she replied. Shortly thereafter, the departing maid returned, accompanied by a woman of evidently higher status. The leading lady greeted him with a radiant smile, stating, "Young master, for this mid-grade talisman of ordinary quality, we can offer you 55 low-grade spirit stones. What do you think?" Upon hearing the price, Jiang Yuan was somewhat taken aback, as it exceeded his previous offer by 5 low-grade spirit stones. However, he quickly discerned the reason behind this increase. The influence of the sacred ground's disciple recruitment was prompting affluent families to purchase these useful talismans in abundance. Furthermore, Lesser families were eager to seize a chance to ensure their descendants could join the sacred ground. It is well known that within a single state, the authority of the sacred ground stands as the highest peak, wielding unparalleled influence. To gain admission would signify an elevation in their own standing as well. Nonetheless, this was of little concern to Jiang Yuan, who sold the 200 talismans in his possession, acquiring 110 mid-grade spirit stones, thus replenishing his previously depleted treasury. He subsequently expended 50 mid-grade spirit stones on a variety of lightning attribute spiritual herbs, intending to elevate his cultivation to the pinnacle of the spirit cultivation realm before the disciple selection commenced. With his purchases secured, Jiang Yuan returned to the inn to begin his training. More than a week later, time in cultivation flew by swiftly, and the day of the disciple selection at the Nine Thunders sacred ground finally arrived. At the foot of the mountain, the area was already teeming with people, the majority being accompanying personnel. Only a few thousand were the true protagonists of this disciple selection. Jiang Yuan joined the throng, listening to the murmurs around him as they discussed their preparations and expressed their anxieties about whether they would succeed in their ascent. Meanwhile, he also took note of the locations of the prominent families at the forefront of the crowd. Youngsters, all under the age of 15, stood there with heads held high, embodying the pride and future of their families, and naturally, they could not afford to appear timid. At that moment, a figure descended from the heavens, landing gracefully above the assembly. It was an elder, exuding an ethereal aura, radiating the power of the harmonious realm. The previously bustling scene, reminiscent of a marketplace, fell into a profound silence, with every gaze fixed intently upon the elder. Sensing the weight of their attention, the elder smiled gently and spoke softly. I trust you are all aware of what the first challenge entails, so I shall refrain from unnecessary elaboration and commence this year's assessment. With that, the elder waved his hand, and a staircase, shimmering with golden light as if crafted from gold bricks, materialized before the crowd. This was the celestial ladder. As the challenge commenced, the children of the prominent families surged forward, hastening towards the ladder. Once the scions of the esteemed families ascended the steps, it would be the turn of the smaller clans, and finally, the independent cultivators. As an independent cultivator, Jiang Yuan remained unhurried, observing quietly. For ascending the celestial ladder was not merely a matter of speed. Without sufficient aptitude, one could not climb higher or further. Moreover, there were strict criteria. Only those who reached beyond the 100th step would qualify for the next challenge. The celestial ladder was vast enough to accommodate thousands of individuals at once. As the last of the independent cultivators, Jiang Yuan approached the ladder with a leisurely gait, then steadily took his first and second steps. He moved slowly, yet with an ease that belied his pace. As he stepped onto the ladder, he felt an invisible pressure bearing down upon him. However, thanks to his enhanced aptitude, aided by the system, these burdens felt negligible. Though he was the last to ascend the ladder, he found himself, almost imperceptibly, advancing past many others. Particularly as he reached the 50th step, the number of those remaining before him dwindled from thousands to mere hundreds. With every 10 steps he climbed, the crowd thinned further. His serene demeanor began to draw attention from those below, sparking murmurs among the onlookers. Look at that person wearing the fox mask. How does he appear so at ease? One remarked. Who is this newcomer? They seem so unfamiliar. I saw him ascend with the independent cultivators earlier, another replied. Upon learning that Jiang Yuan was an independent cultivator, a wave of mild astonishment rippled through the crowd, though it quickly dissipated. In their eyes, independent cultivators were ultimately insignificant, unable to stir much commotion. In truth, the celestial ladder comprised not merely 100 steps, it extended to an astonishing 9,999. However, the subsequent steps were typically traversed only by disciples of the sacred ground who had joined for a considerable time. To enter the sacred grounds, those aspiring practitioners, including Jiang Yuan, need only ascend 100 steps. Jiang Yuan chose not to be the first to stand out. His pace was neither hurried nor slow. As he reached the 100th step, he noticed that several scions from prominent families had already arrived at the finish line. Due to the fox mask he wore, their gazes lingered on him momentarily. However, Jiang Yuan remained silent and did not acknowledge them. This fleeting curiosity quickly dissipated, replaced by a subtle hostility. The root of this animosity was simple, a disdain born from differences in status. How could a mere wandering cultivator surpass their esteemed kin? Were it not for the watchful eyes of the elders from the sacred grounds, who observed them discreetly, they would have surely confronted him by now. Jiang Yuan, however, paid no heed to their hostility. He was unconcerned. He merely touched the area over his heart, where a slumbering little pink fox lay hidden. Meanwhile, the elders of the sacred grounds, much like the young heirs, observed this new batch of hopefuls from the shadows. Every move they made fell under the scrutiny of the elders' watchful eyes. After a period of time, Thousands had been whittled down to nearly 1,000 by the heavenly ladder. Experiencing such a selection process for the first time, Jiang Yuan wondered if this was indeed a bit ruthless. From thousands, they were reduced to less than a third of their original number. Yet, the real test lay ahead, the assessment of their spiritual roots. The crowd quickly formed 3 long lines, gradually making their way to 3 testing stones, each towering 3 meters high. One need only place their hand upon the stone, and it would reveal their spiritual root attributes and quality, as well as whether they possessed any special physique. Medium-grade single lightning root, no special physique, qualified. Low-grade lightning, fire, and would triple roots, no special physique, eliminated. High-grade single lightning root. In an instant, some rejoiced while others despaired, and some even wept uncontrollably, lamenting how they had disappointed their family's expectations, despite their diligent efforts. Jiang Yuan, fully aware of his own circumstances, merely glanced and then averted his gaze. After all, in his precarious state, he had little time to concern himself with others. The testing proceeded swiftly, and before long, it was Jiang Yuan's turn. Sensing the weight of the onlookers' stares, he approached the testing stone with measured steps and extended his hand.